Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting. Tonight, our guests are the Board of Selectmen, and they'll be going through their warrant articles and their budgets, with the exception of Highway and PD, because we will be seeing them Thursday at 6:30. So we don't feel it's fair to shred the budget to that extent. There he is. Come on in, Bill. Your chair is waiting for you. We also have our head librarian, Mike, will be here to discuss his warrant article, which is great. Before we do anything, we need to do a little cleanup here. First and foremost, it is very important that everybody understand that we need to be polite and respectful to everybody in this room. Whether it's our own people or the people that are here, we're all here to do a job and to get information to the townspeople as well as ourselves. And in order to do that, we need to be respectful and polite, just like we would like everybody to treat us. The other thing is we are fact-finding only, so we're not having discussions about things. We're not going off into the weeds. We're strictly asking questions that pertain to budgetary information. Cell phones need to please be silenced.
Excuse me.
Are you
Why can't they?
two going to join us up at the table?
You're part of us.
Would anybody else like to raise a question about this?
Yeah, I don't see why, if there's space available, but
No, you're fine.
So we need to make sure our cell phones are silenced.
Laurie, may I say something then?
Please.
If they're not going to join us at the table, I'd like them to go to the podium to ask a question
Does the rest of the committee agree with that?
so that the home people can hear the
Right,
question.
but people need to know who's asking questions and who's speaking. So does the committee take a vote on it? Does everybody agree? All in favor?
You're gonna pull the microphone to you, because we can't hear you.
So all in favor of going to the microphone if you are not at the table, say aye.
I,
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Deliberations for the Finance Committee will take place at a later date. We will set those dates later tonight after the meeting, or before we close the meeting, but not during this sequence of it. And I did have Naomi check with the town attorney. We are an advisory committee only. We are here to collect information. We are here to educate the populace and ourselves. We are not here to write warrant articles. That is not our job. If anybody so chooses to do that, you need to do that on your own time and space, separate from this committee. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody have anything they'd like to add? Okay. Taking care of all that, Ricky, you're on.
Thank you, Chairman.
Oh, I should say one other thing.
Chris?
I want you to go through the budget.
Okay.
After you are done running through however you want to present it to us,
Chris?
then I will ask if there are questions, and we will take a question and a follow-up per person so that each person gets a chance, and then we will go around again. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you.
Does the style like I was doing it with the block and pages, does that seem to work efficiently? Okay.
1E.
Okay. Thank you, Finance Committee.
that's the estimate of the revenues.
We look forward to working with you,
Revenue.
as always. And like I said, hopefully everybody has the sheets. For the proposed and default, propose what we'll be talking about, I would like to think. You want to do warrants first, it's up to you.
We just have the revenues, I don't have a budget.
Okay, well, then we'll start with the warrant articles then, because I see everybody's kind of got draft warrant articles sitting in front of them.
Beth, is it possible to get budgets for some of the people, please? Thank you.
We'll start with the warrant articles then,
All right.
that's fine. Okay, so as always, the first few articles will be from the planning board. And then we'll move to the, so I don't know how many they're bringing forward as of yet, but we'll go to the road reconstruction bond, which again is, because the bond is before the operating budget in the,
Mine is 12 and 1. That's too
Yeah.
old, huh?
Naomi, what's the date? I need one, Naomi.
Sorry, I just opened this statement for the staff, whoever.
Well, we can do the warrant articles because everybody's updated on the
Right.
warrant articles.
Yeah, that's why I have right in front of me, right?
Not the budget. Thank you for being
No,
patient.
not a problem.
We are a committee of
Many people,
updated versions every 30 seconds, and it's like,
yes. As you see, the road reconstruction bond is on there. I'm not gonna speak to that because that's gonna be DPW Director Knapp. But obviously it takes a 3/5 vote, but that's before our operating budget. The operating budget, we'll wait to do that until, well, so we can do it line by line. The non-union personnel raises. That is a article that goes on every year, at least that I can remember. My term is pretty short. I've only been on the board for 4 years, but every year I can remember it's been on there. This year, the board decided that it would be a 3% raise calculation across the board. So, any questions on that?
how did we get to the 3%?
The 3% was brought to it was 2.8% was the Social Security, so we went with 3%. We figured the 2 was between 2.5. We calculated 2.5, and 3, and the board decided 3. So, questions? DPW raise, the $1 an hour across the board. I'll just speak to that. It's again a lot of. You look at surrounding towns. It's a truck driver position. I'll just use that as an example. The truck driver position, it's driving truck, operating the plow equipment, and any road maintenance that needs to go along with it. Our neighboring town, New Boston, starts at $2 an hour more than us. Same benefits package, same everything. So to me, it would, again, my own opinion is to split the difference might be more appealing. Right now, I believe we are down 1 truck driver still. Is that correct? Or we have full staff? We're full staff. So, which hasn't happened since I've been on the board. It's been on and off, but majority of the time we've had a vacancy. So that's all I want to say to that. Tom?
Yes, just to clarify, because not everybody was at the select. I don't know if that echoes out there anyways, but I'll speak up. Not everyone was at the Board of Selectmen's meeting last night, so just to clarify for everybody, that in those two first articles, and also as related to, I think, the fire department as well, that there is an overlap, and I'm not stating one way or the other support, but just so that everybody understands, that the article for non-union raises includes the highway department. So the highway department's at the $1 an hour raise, plus whatever passes in the first article. And I think that also applies to raises that the fire department has already received. So just to make sure that everybody understands that for our own further discussion, that's correct, isn't it?
Yes, Tom, thank you.
okay.
Thank you for stating that. And again, that's, I mean, the dollar that went from for the fire department, that's a Board of Fire Ward's decision, that's not the Board of Selectmen. So, just want to clarify that. Fire department standby pay, I'm sure you guys spoke to Chief Vazina already about his articles, so I'm sure you guys already touched upon that. And the 2 full-time employees. There was a change that we were presented last night between the 2 of them, and I don't know if it was presented at your committee meeting. But if the 2 full-time employees article passes, it will nullify the standby pay article. And I did question that, and it was the fact of because of the shift in staffing model, it will become that money that would be used for the standby pay will be now in the payroll line. available because we're no longer be using them per diems. So that, it would wash one another out at the end of the day. So we would get the standby with coverage for the town between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., but it would definitely come, like I said, because of that, the way that
It'd be the per diem people covering it as opposed to the,
it would be the per diem pay line,
Right.
but there'd be no actual people at the station staffing from 10 to 7.
okay.
So
Keith,
Is your understanding that you, the selectmen, have no say?
you need a microphone.
Is it your understanding that you, the selectmen, have no say over the fire budgets and warrant articles?
now, I don't know if everybody knows a little bit of my history. I was 6 years on the Board of Fire Awards before I became a selectman. And in that 6 years, I always questioned what the authority and the roles were of the Board of Fire Awards. And even in the last 4 years, I've still been questioning what the roles and the responsibilities are of the fire wards. Per RSA 154 that governs the fire department, and the way the model is for this town is the Board of Fire Wards is the governing body of the fire department. So I believe, and this is the best of my knowledge, is that it is staff. I mean, the model is similar to the library. The library has a board of trustees that the town cuts a check to, again, a bottom line number. The town office cuts a check to them, 12 checks, and I believe that the fire department is operating the same way. That is my take on it. Okay.
But Rick,
Yes.
question. Is it not also true that in the Board of Selectmen's operating budget article,
She
lines
needs
can
the
be
microphone
shifted?
closer.
So, for instance, the library line or the fire line can be shifted per order of the selectmen?
I believe.
Because it's
well,
in that article?
I don't want to mistake. I don't know. I don't want to
Okay.
mistake because I don't know. But I know that obviously when the budget is whatever one it is, default or proposed, the bottom line is that, like you said, the selectmen can move around as needed. I believe that within the fire department budget, the fire ward can do the same thing within their budget only.
Right, yeah.
That's the way I understand it. I don't know if the selectmen can then, once it's been submitted to the town and the town has made the vote on it, I don't think that the selectmen can really alter that anymore. I don't believe. That's my own. But again, we have a meeting with the Board of Fire Wards, Town Council, and the Board of Selectmen coming up as a work session to try and iron some of these out. A lot of these questions that have recently come about, we're going to try and iron them out. Because, like I said, it's just I want myself as one member of the Board of Selectmen. I want the Board of Fire Wards to be working at their fullest capability, and if that's what they need to, if that's within their realm, that they should have it. As far as I'm concerned, the town elects a Board of Fire Wards for a reason. So, and we're still in that staffing model.
Bill?
Yeah, Rick, on that article with the 2 full-time employees, if the standby pay, if that's approved, and the standby line item comes out,
Yes.
is the cost for this article going to reflect that removal in the operating budget? Or should there be some wording in here that says if this article is approved, the operating budget would be reduced by X amount?
The operating budget's not going to be reduced.
Because this would be in addition to the operating budget. If it passes, it gets added to.
Right.
Right, but if this is approved, there won't be need for standby pay for,
Neither one are in the budget right now.
There won't.
They're on warrant articles.
okay.
There won't be any need for the per diems in that time slot that the full-timer is going to fill. So the per diems are not going to cover that 7 to 5 anymore, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. anymore. So that'll be staffed by full-time employees rather than per diem members. So that monetary value of the 7 to 5 will now become standby pay.
Oh, 7, I thought it was 10 to 7, not 7 to 5. Okay, go ahead.
Standby pay from 10 to 7, yes. That's what that money that is being saved, because that is not being utilized anymore, I should say, from the 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. block will now be utilized for the standby pay, because now we'll have 2 full-time employees sitting there rather than per diems in that 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. timeline.
Did you get that?
And I asked the
Very
question
confusing
because
because you just basically said the full-time people there were during the day, but the per diem is at night.
negative.
Negative which?
So all right, I'll try and re-explain it one more time. Okay, I understand, again, I understand how it works in my head, but sometimes I have a hard time explaining it. So right now, the current staffing model is we pay per diem employees from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., 2 shifts. And that is considered the per diem program. Now, the call force, which I'm a member of, is responsible for the 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. block. If the 2 full-time employees go through,
Hold on, don't start with that. Start with the per diem thing.
Okay.
Isn't the per diem thing meant to pay those overnight people?
no,
No, the standby pay is.
I mean, the standby pay, I'm sorry.
that is correct.
Okay. And you said the standby pay is coming out, or won't be, that article be null and void, if the 2 full-time employees are approved,
That is correct.
and the 2 full-time employees are working what hours?
7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
So it doesn't make sense.
We don't know that for
But regardless, that's
It'll
actually
be
what he,
days.
that's actually what he
Game
said.
plan.
it'll be days. That'll be the game
So
plan.
how does that make sense? Because now you still have the people on call at night, right?
Correct.
But they're not gonna get their
They're gonna get paid out
standby
of the,
pay?
they're gonna
Yes.
paid out of the per diem money, not out of the standby pay, is that correct?
Correct.
Are you gonna shift around the
You're
budget?
gonna shift the budget.
Correct.
But there,
And the reason and the question I asked was the numbers didn't quite make sense to me because I'm thinking, all right, well, 7 to 5 is a 10, 2 people is 20, or I should say 40 hours of coverage in the 5-day period, and then for 2 members is X amount of hours at the end of the year, but it's only for 6 months. So if you equate that to 6 months, it comes out to like 32,000. So that's what the two. Oh.
Just also part of that is that the per diems now are 7 days a week.
Correct.
7 a.m. until 10 p.m. So the full-time will not cover all of the per diem. It'll only cover part of the 5-day, 8 hours a day for 5 days. So there'll still be a lot of need there for per diem pay.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, because we'll still have that block in the evening that needs to be covered. Regardless of how the chief and the fire wars designate the hours, there'll still be a chunk in the evening that needs to be covered. So, and like I said, that's up to them to rearrange the hours. I'm just along for the ride over there.
any other questions? Neil?
Ricky, they skipped the next 2.
Yes, because those are the police. Actually, next 3.
Next 2, sorry.
Yeah.
Mike's here.
Do you want to speak to yours, Mike? Since we're going in order?
I'm Mike Sullivan, I'm the library director, and I guess I'm more here to answer questions than speak. And we're talking just about the warrant article here, right? Nothing to do with...
Correct.
Okay. What the library's warrant article is this year is a proposal to add a full day to the library schedule on Friday. So that would be 10 hours on Fridays for 52 weeks, so 520 open hours per year. The numbers are going to alter just a little bit. Beth and I have been, working out what all the little numbers mean, but I think we were within $500 or $600. I think when it came out. So you're looking at basically an annualized increase if we add this in of about $26,000 to add those 10 extra hours. If you do the math out over the last couple of years, and I got all the numbers here. If you guys, I don't know if I brought enough copies. Bigger committee than I remembered. All right. I was going to say, yeah. I get
13.
13, and I get 10 here, so another 3, and I don't know if anyone else wants, but if you want to throw those around. Basically, what it comes down to is the amount of business we've increased since 2016, been about 14-15%, just in our general numbers as far as checking things out. More than doubled the amount of programming because that's sort of been our focus for the last couple of years. And in that time, we've actually reduced our requests for operating budget. So if you do the math out and starting at 2016, just increase the budget by 3% rather than decreasing it the way we have, you come out to basically the $26,000. So that's what we're proposing to do. It'd be nice to be open every day after school. Certainly would be really helpful to add one extra night for programming and to be able to spread out the programming we do at the library and the meetings, because of course we have the Sawyer room down there as well. Life gets really complicated around the center of town on Thursday night because everybody decides they're going to do what they're going to do on Thursday night. And that's when the Legion is there. That's when there's meetings downstairs. It's our prime night for programming as well. So often we're doing 1, 2, and sometimes 3 programs at a time. So that's the hope, to spread some of that out. That and just, the amount of business we're doing, it takes more time, and we've got more people using the library. We need to spread that out some. So that's what we're proposing.
Are any of these people full-time benefits and?
Right now, the only full-timer at the library is me.
Okay.
What this warrant article would do would push our children's librarian into full-time and add that in. Right now, we've got 2 staff members working at 31 hours a week, which is that really uncomfortable thing that we sometimes do, and that is try to work people as many hours as we possibly can without giving them benefits, which is, as far as I'm concerned, rather abusive. It also really doesn't help on retention and recruitment. So turning that into a full-time position gives us more hours from our children's librarian, who, of course, is involved in a good chunk of our programming, and makes that position more equitable and more retainable and replaceable.
Does this increase have built into it the piece for the increased health benefits?
Oh yeah, all the benefits are in there, all the taxes. Beth and I have actually been back and forth on this. The amount of nitty gritty involved in just doing that step really is pretty heavy. But yes, everything's in there, including all the benefits.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Current hours are Tuesday and Thursday, 10 to 8. Monday and Thursday, 10 to 8. Tuesday and Wednesday, 10 to 6. And then Saturday, 9 to 2. We've increased the number of hours on Saturdays from 3 to 5, and now we stay open all summer during Saturdays as well. It's been a big boost to business.
What would be the staffing level on Friday if you did this?
It would be average 3 people per hour is what it comes down to.
So it would be like one of the full-time and then a couple of part-timers?
Actually, probably both full-timers for stretches of it, and then a couple of part-timers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You said the retention and turnover. How long has the person been in the children's librarian position at not a full-time?
Karen's been there, help Chris, 9 years now?
No, more than that.
More than that?
Okay, over 9
Yeah.
years. So it
That's yes, Susan.
that position hasn't turned over despite it not being full-time.
No, it hasn't, which is nice.
2007.
We'll take it.
Cora was there, so, yeah, she's 10.
10 years now, okay.
No other questions? Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you, folks.
You're back, Ricky.
Took all my papers with you.
You took these pictures.
Took all my papers with you. Thank you. Yeah, exactly. I guess we're all done. Thank you.
Don't have it memorized yet?
Yeah. Okay. Next one we'll go to, I guess, will be the establish a CRF for the road reconstruction.
Okay.
Everything else is fire and police, so I'll make it. So the current model that we use for the road reconstruction money is whatever does not get utilized at the end of year goes back in the general fund. So this warrant article to establish the capital reserve fund, and there's going to be some verbiage changes between the two because we want it so that the money goes right into that capital reserve fund. But the taxpayers say that they want to spend $480,000 on road reconstruction and all the entailments of. If Benji doesn't spend, the director doesn't spend $20,000-$30,000, it goes in the general fund. And he loses it for using it on the roads. It may be just the way it lines up, the way the project ended, et cetera. Also, he likes to keep, and like I said, I'm not trying to speak for the director, but he did mention he likes to keep a little bit of a insurance policy, he'll call it. And the reason is example, we had a culvert fail on Colby Road. That's where the money came from. It was on docket to be replaced, but it failed prematurely, unexpected. So the money came from that. So to keep the road reconstruction money as road reconstruction money, that's why we're trying to establish that capital reserve fund. So, and like I said, the verbiage between the road reconstruction actual article and that capital reserve fund development will be changed as legal and DRA looks at it. So, but that's the initial intent and purpose.
Does that have anything to do with the bond?
No,
Okay.
no, the bond is also for roads, but we still want to do the 480,000 as well.
Okay.
So for complete reconstruction, down dirt, the whole nine. The bond is more of a maintenance. I say maintenance, but it's to make the road go longer. That chip coating that we did on Hodgson, the shim and overlays like we did on Reservoir this year. That would be, I believe, that would be what that would be drafted for. So.
Questions?
Bridge improvement, this is the third installment, I believe. Third installment. The River Road, the Lull Road, and the Old Francistown Bridge, you have to have this, the town municipality has to have their 20% already ready in hand before the state will make any contribution at their 80% for the bridge. So like I said, this is the third time you've seen it, you'll see another again, and then we'll go for it. So. But it's just us trying to be, instead of going for 400,000 instantly, try to make a little bit here and there. So, set it aside. The park survey, again, it's for Inison Field and the East Road. Right now, they're using it as a sand pit on East Road, the town is. But that is eventually going to get turned over, obviously, when all the material is removed, that can be removed, it's going to get turned over to the Parks and Recreation. So, to see what we can do with that lot.
Currently, have we done anything that shows exactly the usage of all the different fields, what the demand is, what they think it's going to be before we actually hear? Has there been any groundwork done leading to this?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay. Any other questions?
Is this the same, do you know whether they have some kind of a firm in mind? There was a survey question before, and I'm wondering if this is similar to that?
I don't believe, the survey before, I believe, was for the Chase Park boat launch ramp. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So they're not related
Okay,
per
thank you.
se. No.
Tom?
When this was brought before CIP, the concept was that it would look at the Inison Field property and the property on East Road as far as feasibility for creating athletic fields in those
Expansion.
two places.
Yeah. I mean, from what I gather from the Parks Director is that basically the fields that we have with the amount of sports that are being utilized are pretty much at their capacity.
But they haven't done a study that can actually lay it out
To
and we can
my
see it?
knowledge, no.
Okay.
Ricky,
Yes.
on
Yes.
the, is that premature? When's the town, the highway department going to get finished removing all the material that they need to work on the roads?
That I don't know.
Could be premature then, right?
One could say. I
And
like
you
said,
say something like 7 or 9 years?
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
Okay.
But that is
I
kind of
missed that
premature in
too.
my book.
Like I said, yeah.
But that's just for the one property. They could still be looking at.
Yeah,
At
the
some
both
other-
properties, right, yeah. Well, the East Road property as a whole, when it's recovered, or reclaimed, I guess would be the word, so.
Donna, did you
No,
have anything to
that,
add?
Greg stole my
Greg got it.
question.
What?
You had Donna's
You asked
question.
Donna's question.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so the capital reserve fund for the government building maintenance. I was kind of the one that brought this up, looking at the condition of the roof on the safety complex. It is, in my opinion, failed prematurely. If you look at the shingles on it right now, they're not in very good shape at all. You know, that's a town building that's not too old. I mean, it was put in roughly 2003, 4, and some of the shingles are just when we got the bids on the roof, just to get an idea of what to put on the the warrant article. The contractors were walking around. They said it was disintegrating under their feet. So it's not going to be long before the roof is going to go south, and we're going to start having 5-gallon buckets under spots.
Is this the same fund that last year well, not you
Safety.
personally, that there was a warrant
Chicoine.
article asking for money to do the top
Tower.
of the
Old Town Hall.
Old
bell
Town
tower.
Hall,
The bell
which
tower,
has
that's
not
correct.
been done?
That's correct.
And
We have awarded the bid for that project. That has been awarded. And we have given them, I believe, a third to get materials started. And they were supposed to come over end of October, in the late fall. But the weather started changing and temperature started going down. There was no way they could get up there with the man lift to rent it, to get it up there. They were going to bring an 80-foot man lift to get up there and get it done. But I believe that we are docketed first thing for the spring.
And they will hold the price? There won't be any new and
Yes, they will.
improved costs?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a question on that?
Okay. Fire insurance, the insurance back to the capital reserve fund. So I don't know if, did the Board of Fire Wards or the Fire Chief speak to this?
No.
Okay. So we had a ladder truck. There was a catastrophic failure of it. Luckily, there was nobody on it, but there was a catastrophic failure of the ladder. We investigated, the Board of Fire Wards, I should say, the town investigated feasibility of repairing it, and it was deemed not to be repaired. So Primex, our insurance carrier, cut us a check for approximately $55,000 for the unit, and it went down the road. That check was then brought to the selectmen, and it was the Board of Fire Ward and the Fire Chief's recommendation to purchase a chief's car with that check, with that money. The Board of Selectmen decided to put it into the general fund at that time. My feeling was, at that point in time, was to allow the taxpayers to make the say on where that $55,000 went. That was and that's why I wanted to bring it, myself anyways, I don't know about the rest of the board, but myself, I wanted to bring it to the warrant to say, all right, what happened was the funding method was the town purchased a used ladder truck for $100,000, 2006, 7 area. I think it was 7. And 70% of that came from the fire truck replacement fund. And 75%, and the other 25% was raised from taxation. So this would be a representation of 70%, 75% of the money that was received back from that going back to the fire department. And and unfortunately, with the way that we contacted legal counsel, we cannot return that money to the special revenue fund because that's not the way that fund is written. You know, the underlying, you can't do that. So this is going to go back into the fire rescue vehicle capital reserve fund, which right now currently has about $2,000 in it. But it would put it back to the fire department.
Okay.
And that would be that, basically that insurance money. It's coming from the unexpended fund balance, but it's gonna go back, because it was unanticipated revenue in 2018, it's gonna go back to the fire department. But I myself, when I abstained from the vote, but I wanted the taxpayers to have a say, and that's what this article does. It lets the taxpayers decide whether it goes back to the fire department or stays in the general fund. Tom?
Just to clarify, so as of right now, if we look back at the fire chief's car warrant article, that will come entirely out of the special revenue fund.
That's correct.
There's no crossover there.
That's correct.
But this will go into the capital reserve fund for vehicles, and so that when there's another vehicle needed, you can draw on either or both
That is
in
correct.
order to replace the vehicle.
I
Okay.
believe that is correct. So,
Thank you.
okay. Cemetery cypre, 10,
Keith, did you want to ask something?
Well, there is a tax impact, correct? I mean, essentially, if it doesn't pass, the $40,000 would stay to reduce tax.
it would stay in the unexpended fund balance, and we could reduce taxes 2019 when we set the tax rate. The potential is there, but it's not necessarily going to happen. I don't hold a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen when we set the tax rate 2019. So, but the potential is there.
Ricky, I know I asked you once before. The vehicle he's driving now,
Yes.
what's going to happen to that?
I believe, and again, I just want to make the distinction. I don't represent the fire chief
Right.
in what I say.
I understand.
I am a member of the fire department, again, and I'm a member of the board of selectmen. I run a very fine line on trying not to misrepresent what is being said. As I understand it, it would be the pickup that he is driving right now will be put back in service as a utility vehicle for the fire department. It has a snowplow on it that was purchased with emergency management funding, and when the chief had the Durango, that the vehicle he has now currently was the forestry truck before we purchased the Dodge 5500.
Okay.
And what we would do is at the time, the covering officer would take the vehicle home in snowstorms, and in the event of a emergency where the driveway wasn't plowed, the covering officer would blaze a trail up for the ambulance to get to the top of the driveway. I believe that it's not the intention to replace what the DPW does at the department as far as taking care of the parking lots, et cetera, or the cisterns, but it would be more for emergency use if there was a call that we had a lot of snow and the driveway hadn't been plowed to the individual. So it'd be used more like a utility vehicle, bringing it would still be used for fire activity, actual hot fire activities. If we had a wires down call or something like that, bring barricades out there, or if we had a building fire and we had all the hose to bring back, we throw it on the back of the flatbed rather than a personal pickup like we do now and bring it back to the station.
Okay.
Phil?
Thank you.
Right now, there's not a utility vehicle.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, I just want to make sure I get this straight. So the chief's using that vehicle now. It's a hand-me-down. I understand that. He gets a vehicle, if it's approved by the voters, coming out of the special revenue fund, which is no tax impact because it's the ambulance money coming in. But I didn't realize he wants to take that current vehicle, put a plow on it, and keep it for a goodie.
Plow's already on it.
Plow's already on it, okay. They use it to do whatever utility work for the fire department. When you look at the capital improvement program, when I looked at it for the fire department, 2 years down the line is an item that says utility. So it looks like he then wants to replace this vehicle as a utility vehicle with another capital improvement thing coming out of the special revenue fund.
He may. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
what it looks
Like I
like
said,
to
I
me.
haven't seen his. I haven't seen that, and like I said, to me, that's Board of Fireworks.
So
and
we'd
Fire
be
Chief.
replacing the vehicle once for the chief's car, and then we're gonna replace it again to replace the utility vehicle that we're gonna turn this one into, which I don't know if we justified the reason to have a utility vehicle that we're gonna have to replace in 2 years with another 40,000 or whatever.
Yeah. No. The only thing I will say, and like I said, I don't represent what the Board of Fireworks intentions are, or the capital improvements.
Yeah, it's in there. It's
long range
listed.
forecast.
Yeah.
I know that they did just put an aluminum body on the pickup that he has, because the body, the old pickup body was rotted to the point it wouldn't pass state inspection. So that was, I think that might have been, call it a patch. to try and extend the life of that vehicle.
No, I just
Nope,
like to see old stuff go rather than trying to maintain it.
Yep. Yeah, then it starts carrying, the capital goes down and starts becoming a liability.
Yeah.
Right. So like I said, I just, that's what I don't want to overstep or oversay, what's going on over there, because again, I'm not in the day-to-day
That's okay.
operations, so.
I get it.
We found it.
Oh, the long
It
range plan?
is
Yeah,
2021 for 50,000
utility, yeah.
utility truck.
Okay. All right, I think the fire chief of the Board of Fire could probably put more light on that, because that's news to me, and like I said, I'm not in the
Can
command
certainly
structure.
They
bring
missed
them
it.
back in
Yeah, they
when we
missed it the other
discuss.
day when.
Yeah,
they were
Yeah.
or it could just be, a one-sentence email reply, I don't know, so, but.
Thank you.
Okay, yep.
Any other questions? Sue? Okay. Neil?
Okay. Cemetery cypre, again, cemetery maintenance is on there every year that I can remember. Fireworks, pretty straightforward, $6,500 to purchase fireworks for the town. Conservation Commission, last year at the deliberative session, we had considerable questions on where that money was being spent. It just said to raise and appropriate 30 to hire a licensed forester. We didn't know at the time because it was, we hadn't, the selectmen hadn't communicated with the Conservation Commission, and the Conservation Commission did not have a representative there at the deliberative session. So this warrant article has been rewritten to include what that 30,000 encompasses. Again, and as you can see, it's quite a lengthy paragraph of what that encompasses now. And to try and better improve our relations with the Conservation Commission, we actually have a meeting with them tomorrow night as a Board of Selectmen. We're having a work session with the Conservation Commission to try and iron out some
Yes, we do.
miscommunications. Yes. So, like I said, it's again, last year there was a little confusion, which resulted in, I believe, a line cut of $5,000. This year they're going back to that 30,000, and again, it's for forest management. So.
Vicky?
Yep.
Could we just back up for a minute? Just a question. Did the fireworks pass last year?
Yes.
Yes.
They did, okay. The reason I ask is because if something passed last year and it's on the warrant this year, then it's not gonna actually represent an increase, it'll be a flat. The other thing is that most years there are 2 cemetery articles. The cypre takes care of the grave sites within the walls of the cemetery. And
Right.
usually there's another article for maintenance, like fencing or
Stone wall repair,
walls or things
yeah.
like that. There's nothing this year?
Not that's been brought
No,
forward.
we asked during CIP and there was nobody.
No.
No, there was nothing on their radar, as I was told.
Thank you.
The next one's the
Wait a minute.
Conservation Commission.
All right.
Oh,
Oh, yes, Neil.
Maybe go back to the fire vehicle, the fire chief's article, the vehicle article.
Okay, with the understanding that Ricky does not have a lot of the information on it.
The question is, does the fire chief drive this vehicle home?
Yes,
currently, yes.
And where does he live?
Hopkinton, I just told you that.
Thank you.
Just out of clarification for my personal notice, I think Benji takes a vehicle home, yes, no?
Yes.
He lives in town.
Yes.
The police chief takes a vehicle home.
Yes.
Last time I checked, he was in Maine.
Mhm.
So at this point, our 3 big department heads all do take vehicles home. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Okay.
And the fire chief, I've heard him in the morning when I'm getting ready to go to work, responding to calls from home. So before his allotted time. So
Vicky, oh,
We'll let
Go ahead,
Donna go.
Tom.
She's
Yeah, go ahead.
in the
I've been
corner.
hogging the.
no, because now I'm going to forget, so go ahead, Tom.
Scratch your head while I'm doing it. Just, again, clarification on the chief's car, this car will mean that he can put his control center into it, which hasn't been possible with the forest fire vehicle that he was using before.
yeah, it won't just be a ride back and forth. There'll be an actual command vehicle. There'll be a radio In the back of the vehicle, there'll be a like a Jotto desk type thing, so he can track the incident and all the members on it and apparatus on the scene. And,
Now, I'm also under the impression that the departments that are in charge of EMS, fire in Goffstown is EMS, so is Dunbarton and Hopkinton. And part of the reason they need that command vehicle is when they have a major event that's not just fire-related, that, we'll say that we've lost power in town and now we have to arrange opening shelters and everything else. That becomes the driver of coordinating all the departments because he is head of EMS, yes?
he's also the emergency management director in this
Yes.
town as well. So yes, he would be director of a major incident like the floods, the Mother's Day floods that we had.
But that coordination piece in that vehicle does figure into that when they are handling EMS.
It depends on the location.
Okay.
I'll say, in my own experience, it depends on location. In 2008, we were dispatched out of the Center Fire Station. There's a radio station, radio site in there.
No.
So the calls were coming into, the phone calls were coming into the station, and we were getting dispatched out of the station. But the command vehicle will be used at major fire incidences, hazmat incident, anything that would require multiple units to come in, whether it's other towns or even every unit that we have in town that would be there. It could be, again, just to keep it managed and organized.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Bill?
One more. Yeah. I'm just going back to the fire insurance.
Yep.
I understand we're trying to keep apples to apples there. When there was a reimbursement, but it had to go back into the general funds.
It didn't have to.
Oh, well, it did, though.
It did. But it didn't have to, but it did.
So it's there now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To get it out of there, you need to get it from the unexpended fund balance to put it into a capital reserve fund for vehicles. But we also have the special revenue fund for fire and equipment. Forget how, irregardless of how everything ended up where it ended up, there is sufficient money in that, or there is expected to be sufficient money coming in from ambulance reimbursements to buy any major vehicles we need in the future for fire. That has been
Again, I believe so.
It's been stated, when the fire chief was in here the other day, that it's not a problem. We have 113,000 being expended from it. There's 160 some, I believe, in there now. We're going to get 150,000 every year. The next major vehicle purchase is going to be in 2023, I think.
2023, yep.
For a fire truck of
That's correct.
$400,000. So there's going to be lots of money coming in. So there'll be plenty of money there to buy a fire truck. And even though this maybe should have gone back into a vehicle capital reserve fund, it's really not going to be needed, so why not return it to the taxpayers? Or for that opportunity?
Let them decide.
Okay.
That would be my
Okay.
that's again been my contention right out of the gate when the selectmen were presented the money, was let the taxpayer decide what they do with it.
Okay. All right.
Any other? Oh, Neil?
Yes, on the fire truck, the chief's fire car, does his current vehicle have that command center equipment and capacity?
No.
No.
Thank you.
Just,
Tom?
the equipment was purchased when he was using the Durango, and the Durango being that type of a vehicle that was enclosed in the back, it was made to fit into that kind of a vehicle, so the equipment is available. But then when he switched to the pickup truck with just a cap on the back, it didn't work out. So my understanding is that equipment is all there because it was used when he was using the Durango as a command center. So it would be transferred into the new vehicle, which would be an SUV type of vehicle.
I don't think all of it though, Tom. I think there is still more equipment being purchased as well, from my understanding
Yeah,
from
maybe, I
from the
don't know.
meeting, so.
But
Because
that
the
was
vehicle
the-
was a lot less than what the numbers show. I think there was another additional $10,000 or something in equipment, so, from my understanding, so.
Questions?
All right, we have the there was a town warrant article, the year skips my mind right now, on how to dispose of tax deed property. And anything over 10 acres.
The Conservation Commission one, top one?
Yes, let me do that one next. We get talking about Conservation Commission, then we get sidetracked. The Conservation Commission, asking for up to $150,000 to come from their own, the conservation account to purchase any land that may come available for conservation. This is a warrant article that we see yearly. And if no land becomes available, no money is spent out of that account.
Did they purchase anything this year?
To my knowledge, no. So,
Where does that money come from, Rick?
comes from the foresting of the town properties.
Oh, like
So
the-
timber
the
harvest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
I'm all set.
Okay. Amen. Okay. Tax deed properties. So we have some that meet the qualifications to abide by that warrant article. One's on Route 77, Dustin Tavern, and then the ones you see listed. We're going to try, and again, this is in draft form. We don't know if this is going to be legal or not, as far as grouping all these properties together in one article. DRA and town and legal counsel may say pull them out and put them under their own individuals. It's just going to make the warrant article longer, but again, as of right now, this is how it would look. So, and then at that point, public auction or sealed bid. That's the way that those would be disposed of. So,
How was it done this past year?
this past year it was done by auction. We contracted with an auctioneer out of Epping, and
But how was that approved? I mean, was it individual articles?
it would no. What happened was they were under the. It was if it was under 5 acres.
Yeah.
With a house, correct?
Yeah, it was 94, so it's under.
Yeah. So, and then 10 acres, under 10 acres of open property, the selectmen are agents to dispose of it without town warrant.
Okay.
So,
And were all those properties sold?
not all of them. All but what? 3? All but 3. And we had 14?
16.
16.
So we sold 13.
Yeah, so we sold 13. And that's kind of a new thing, and they haven't been sold off in quite a while, but at the end of the day, they're town liabilities. So, Tom?
Rick, it's sort of relevant, but not necessarily to the budget and the warrant articles, but when a property is auctioned off like that, does the town set a minimum? This is the least we will accept for it, or
We
not?
can. We were going to on a couple. We ended up not selling those due to 11th hour legal advice. We didn't sell them. But yes, we can, or we can just go absolute. And I believe all the ones we sold this time were
Well,
absolute.
we had to decide on one.
Right, we had to decide on
We set a
one.
minimum, but we didn't quite reach the minimum, so at that point, you could say, we huddled. We
Yeah.
took a time out and huddled.
Yeah.
And then we decided that we would take the 90,000 versus 117.
Yeah.
Because it's take 90 or take nothing.
Take nothing and goes back. We keep it. So
Did the property on the corner of Reservoir Drive and 114 sell?
no,
We pulled that.
we pulled that one. Yeah, we pulled that one. Legal advice. So it will be. We're planning on, now whether it occurs in the timeline or not. We're planning on having another one in the probably early summer, late summer, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
So
Any other questions?
there is a petition article that we don't. Did it come through?
Well, it's on here.
Okay, it did come through then. Oh yeah, we do. We have it in hand.
Yeah, and I spoke to the petitioner.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Okay.
She knows.
For the limiting Chase Park access to Weare residents and other permitted users only.
Is that a legal definition, other permitted users?
What does that mean?
It's the way it's written by the petition. So
But you have to enforce it, don't you? You have to pass it?
By legal?
by legal, we would, yeah. So I don't know, we're gonna need clarification on that, obviously, but as a petition article, we have to put it on as written.
Wasn't there going to be some research done on whether that was even legal because of the 99-year grant?
Lease, that was,
Whatever it is, yeah.
I believe it's been through legal.
Yeah, the whole thing with a petition article is advisory only.
Well, yeah.
So, I spoke to the lead petitioner, today to see if she wanted to move forward, because today was the deadline.
Yep.
And it was like, I wasn't quite sure, so I think the thought was to move forward with this, to see what the thought is out there. I mean, if it goes down in flames, then she has her answer, or if it's well accepted, there's people that want to do something, and she's now also on Parks and Rec, so that would say whether they're gonna try to do something or not do something. But
Well,
it's
I was just
strictly-
curious, just in general, if it was even legal, if we could even do that
Well, we haven't
based
run-
off of the
We
deed.
we haven't gotten back from DRA, which is the Department of Revenue, who okays them as well as legal.
Right.
Okay, so
put
we
it
don't
on
know
there
if
'cause
per the
today's-
deed if it's okay. Okay.
Right.
Today's-
At this point in time, today, correct.
Okay.
Do you know what the petitioner's intent is with regard to the words other permitted users?
We don't.
Not really. I was kind of thinking it was, boaters but again, out of towners can get a day pass, so that's a permitted user.
Yeah, I
There should
can-
be something in the minutes of the Conservation Commission around the middle of the 1980s, because this came up. They wanted to close the boat ramps. And the state said the water belongs to the state.
Correct.
And so you can't close the boat ramp.
Makes sense.
And so I don't know how you would do land water.
Right.
But
Right.
that's,
But that's not accurate.
But not only that, you have people
That's
live
not
on the
fair.
lake that are not Weare residents.
Right. So if I can
Let James
if I can offer just a little bit of insight to this, I've got my I can't speak 100%, but my understanding is that part of this is because the surrounding towns that we have, all of their beach properties are limited to their towns only. Weare is the only one in the immediate area that offers up to non-residents. On weekends, and especially hot days and holidays, that can lead to some crowding on our small beach, which could impact the ability of residents to use the facilities. So I believe, my understanding is that the intent is to alleviate some of that by allowing just town residents and not, I'm not sure.
At Chase Park.
At Chase Park, yes.
Yeah.
So that allowing residents to have access to the water, but also to the limited parking that is there.
Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm a little confused, because right now, we have permits that you can purchase from not being in this town, and if it's saying limited to Weare residents and
And
other
permitted
permitted
users.
users, I'm sorry, to me, it seems rather contradictory.
I
and
wonder if
I'm
we can,
confused.
if I can find out what she means by it. I can ask her.
I'd point out that there's no financial impact of this, so I'm not sure that
Well-
it's really relevant to the Finance Committee.
Well, I'm not 100% sure about that, because the revenues from Chase Park are around $15,000 for the permits that they sell. If we're not selling to non-residents, that it's going to impact. It's not a lot, but there is a small impact on that.
Can we find out from the town administrator whether there's a financial impact and whether this will have a note saying so many cents on the tax rate?
Naomi, would you do that,
I'm
please?
gonna take a step back and wait and see if it's legal first.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of homework.
Okay.
But if it is
It may be
legal,
removed in the long run.
okay, but if it is legal, can we get a few more details for the questions that both Neil and James have brought up? Do you want to be James or Jim, or don't you care?
One of those is fine, yeah.
Ricky, a
Not
similar
George.
issue like this came up about Chase Park several times in the 34 years I've been here. And basically, the biggest complaint that I remember, especially when I was first in town on the police department, is the out-of-towners and vacationers and stuff would go in and buy a day pass. And the people that had seasons passes that live in town would go there, and there was no place to park.
I believe that's basically the same,
It's a
same
parking
song
issue
today.
more than beach issue.
I don't think so much that it's the parking issue anymore. I think that it's the overcrowding, but I think also that there has been, in the last couple of years, especially this past summer, there's been police issues. That there was issues having to do with things done at the park that were not appropriate, and they were done by people who are outside residents because they do not have as much,
Skin in
not
the game.
respect. The word that I'm looking for is basically they don't live here, so they kind of don't care. And there was some incidents where I think police were called and other things, and I remember seeing something about like toilet issues that caused plumber and other things. Even in my own usage of being there during the week, a lot of times the outside people just don't have as much respect. And I think that's where it really comes down to, is that the people who live here, we are paying for it. We would like to be able to bring our kids there and not have to worry they're going to see something we don't want them to see. And that may happen, but I think that's more of where it came from, was that the people not having respect because they do not live here.
I think it's a compounding issue between the two of them.
Yes,
Like
yeah,
what
that's
you
very
say
good,
and
yes.
and the parking
Kind
issue.
of a little bit of both.
Yeah, they're all the way
It's
down
just
Reservoir.
It's not just parking.
Right.
Do you set those fees?
The-
Who sets the fees for
we-
the out-of-towners?
The selectmen set the fees under recommendation of the Parks and Recs Committee.
So you could multiply the fees by 10 if you wanted to.
Yeah.
We could.
$1,000 a pass.
Whatever they want to do.
On the tax deeded property article, are any of those properties subdividable?
My pencil's not very,
I'll answer if you want.
I was gonna say, my pencil's not very sharp on the
No, I'm
planning
just
board.
saying that we never tell anybody if
What they can and can't do.
anything is subdividable, because it's based on slopes and soils. So whether it's subdividable or not subdividable is nothing that we answer out of this office. It takes professionals beyond us, surveyors, soil scientists, and everything else, to determine if it's subdividable.
I believe
Just
it's
like we
buyer
never
beware.
tell anybody it's buildable or not buildable, because that's their own, you're faced with setbacks, you're faced with slopes and soils, you're faced with a bunch of other things. So I understand your question, but
It's
I
buyer
don't
beware.
think we answer that question.
Right.
It's a buyer beware,
Right.
which is what happened this year. Once you purchased, you had 30 days to close. One of them opted not to close, because after he bid and hired a soil scientist, he couldn't put a house there, so he walked away from his deposit. And that's their prerogative. So they have to go do their due diligence once they place their vote. And then it goes back to the second who didn't want it, and the third one ended up taking it.
Yeah.
But from the town's point of view, if you're thinking of setting a minimum price on it, wouldn't you want to know whether it's subdividable or not, so that the town doesn't give away an asset for less than the taxpayers would benefit from it?
I guess if it passes and we put it on the auction list, we could look at A, how long we've had it, B, what it looks like, but C, it's more valuable sometimes to an abutter than it is to somebody that wants to subdivide.
And the mindset of the selectmen is just to recover the back taxes that we have on it,
Right.
not to make a profit by selling it at market value.
Because if the Board of Selectmen had to expend finances to go and analyze and do the testing and all that garimple stuff, we're now pumping money into stuff that,
Could be useless.
yes, and then I'm sure that opens a whole nother monkey wrench of what were you doing with our money?
There you go.
Any more questions? Done with the warrant
I
article?
believe we're done with the warrant articles now.
Does everybody have a new and improved copy of the budget?
What do you have one?
Neil?
Madam Chairman, before we get into the budget, could Naomi explain the estimated revenues, why they're down as much as they are, and what impact this will have on how we calculate the cost of particular articles?
I think that's a great idea. Beth and Naomi, you guys know these well. Could you enlighten us, please?
The question is on the estimated tax revenues for 2019. They're down about $600,000 from the prior year. And the question is, what impact will that have on our tax rate, and how can we incorporate that in the calculation for each article, for example, including the budget, where it says tax impact?
Okay, well, the tax impact for all warrant articles except for the operating budget does not reflect the revenues. Only the operating budget has the offsetting revenue. So we only use the revenues to offset the operating budget. The other warrant articles, if they have an offsetting revenue, it's listed in the article, but it does not come from those revenues. It is down this year. Those are very conservative estimated revenues. Come October, when we set the tax rate, we review the revenues, see how we've done for the first 9 months of the year. Can we increase some? Do we need to reduce some? A large portion of the reduction is the sale on municipal property. I think I only estimated probably about 50,000 for next year. But if those two warrant articles pass, and come October when we go to set the tax rate, we could increase that greatly.
Neil.
Follow up. Could you, when you calculate the cost of the budget, the tax rate on the budget, you've you've taken the total amount that we've appropriated and subtracted out the
Estimation, yep.
$3,173,000.
Okay. Sounds right.
Is that correct?
Sounds right.
So we've already taken the hit, as it were, for the $600,000 projected decrease in
Correct.
these revenues.
And that's only for our estimation. I don't want to estimate too high. I'd rather estimate too low, and then, like I said, in October, once we've had 9 months of business, we see how we've done. We usually increase them greatly in October, but I'd rather estimate too low than too high.
Follow up?
Yes.
So if the October estimate shows that instead of a $600,000 drop, there's a $300,000 net
Right.
improvement, that $900,000 difference would in effect reduce the tax rate
will.
increase.
Right, well, yeah,
Thank you.
because then we don't have to raise as much to pay our budget.
And one other question, what happens if we're wrong at the end of the year? Whatever you do in October, as hard as you try, it's off.
Well, I'm very conservative. Usually, we always come in over on the revenues than we
And-
projected.
And then what happens with that money?
It goes into the general fund for unexpended fund balance.
In what year?
It'll go for 2020, the ones you're looking at now. So when we set our tax rate come October for 2019, we'll have our 2019 approved budget, whatever's voted on in March, plus what we're estimating for our 19's budget, our revenues. Take those two, subtract it, and then whatever is in the fund balance from the surplus of 18. There's a lot of numbers being thrown in here, I understand that. Because we're going to come in under budget for 18, and we're going to come in with more revenues in 18. So those two together would make the...
Follow up?
Yes.
So, do you know the number of dollars of revenue that you underestimated in 18 that will benefit us in 19?
Okay.
Almost. We close on the 10th of January.
Oh, you will know this number
Close
shortly.
on the 10th.
Thank you.
Yep, when the tax collector closes on the
Just-
10th, we'll know.
Tom?
It's the last thing
Yeah,
we
just
know.
a little more clarification on that. When you do your revised prior to setting the tax rate, the different department heads will revise their figures, usually up. And so when you sit down to do the tax rate, don't you use that revised figure that you've submitted to DRA, or don't they use it? So it isn't just waiting until the next year, because if they revise right there, you use that for the current year, and then whatever comes in after that, above
Yeah,
and beyond,
the
that's
extra
for the year
Of
after.
18 would go to 19, yep.
Or vice versa, if they've
Yeah,
overestimated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Good questions. Okay, Ricky.
Okay.
It's fun time.
Trying to get contractors lined up for my house, so. Okay,
Just lost my breath.
so we will go to the proposed budget for 2019. All set? Okay. As you can see, the town officer salary didn't change. Static across the board. We didn't give ourselves a raise. Town officers proposed is down a little bit. Any
What
questions?
changed that brought it down?
The mailer report went down a little bit. The town report, which is the mailer and the town report, both go to the same vendor, so the cost must be down a little bit. I think we're getting less of them, just because every year we seem to have a stack or a box left, so try and expend a little bit less and have a little bit less, so. It wasn't a drastic difference, but.
Elections is good.
Elections is down. Elections always revolves around how many elections we have to host a year. So it's reflective of how many we have to host. Tax collector is down $1,000. And 900, almost $900 of that is reflected with health insurance costs. Yep.
Tax collector longevity bonus. It's in for 2 years. Does that continue? Do you get that longevity bonus
Every year.
every year?
That's
Okay.
your step, that's your step. Assessing is up. The current assessing department employee has decided to take the insurance that we offer. So
Okay.
that's why, that's why it's gone up. And Avatar also went up too. Excuse me, our assessing company that we use.
When is their contract up?
Which one?
Avatar.
Yes, Avatar, the contract.
Yeah, when is that up?
We just signed, I believe, last year for a 3-year, or is it 5-year? 5-year contract with them.
Why did it go up then if we signed a contract last year?
It goes up progressively.
It's a default budget.
It's a default budget. So the default numbers are 73,000. And the approved for 2018 was a 73,000. Even though now it's gonna be 88.
If we go default this year, how does that, they want to be at 88, but that won't be coming in then, right? They have to stay at 73?
No, they'll be at
No,
the,
we're still gonna pay 'em 88.
they'll be at the 88, but it's the bottom line, so we'll have to find it somewhere in our budget.
Go fish.
That's the one. Legal fees, legal expenses.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
before.
Yep.
So when the contract is done with Avatar,
Mm-hmm.
is this something that we're gonna need to renew every year now?
Every
Or like
5
every
years.
5 years?
Every
Or is
5
it
years.
Just gonna continue?
Yeah, every 5 years. But that's a necessary by laws that you have to assess your town. You have to appraise it and reevaluate.
So I'm assuming they're doing 20% a year?
Yes.
Is that what they're
Yes.
doing? Okay.
Can I just add? Dennis, usually what happens is that it really is 1 year, but instead of going along really slow and having a $200,000 spike,
Yep.
we opt to take the total and divide it by 5. That's why it's 20% a year. So
But
you
that's-
have a steady
but that's-
versus the $200,000 it roughly costs for the reevaluation.
But if it's 5 years and it's 88,000, that's a half a
I
million.
just threw that number out as an
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, as an example,
When
yeah.
you're going along, but.
Yeah.
Instead of having a huge, 000, then 500,000.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the bridge bond.
Question?
Yes, Neil?
Was that contract bid,
Yes.
and this was the lowest bid? Or was the only bid?
It was not the only
No, it
bid.
wasn't the only bid, but,
I think it was.
it wasn't apples to apples, it was apples to bananas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't the same, as far as the amount of pickup and the amount of everything else. There was 2 brand-new companies that were very new to it and, were kinda like outliers.
Yeah,
They were
not
really
even
lucky.
close to the.
Neil?
So the cost of reassessing is roughly $450,000?
Well, no.
Townwide.
Well, that's doing your annual pickups and then the reevaluation on top of that. Because every year you get a building permit or new homes come in, they have to assess it. So then you have the 1 year, every 5th year, you have to do a reevaluation,
Townwide.
townwide. So right now, they're doing their regular pickups, plus their current use penalties and everything else. On top of that, they're doing 20% so that we, by the 5th year, we'll be ready to push the button again.
So what proportion of the 88,000 is toward the 5-year renewal, and what proportion is towards the annual pickups?
I'd have to get that, I don't have that, but I'm happy to put that.
That would be appreciated, thank you.
That's a lot of money.
It is.
Go ahead.
Any other questions? Okay. Legal expenses. Our proposed is up 10,000. It's more than that. 12,000.
On the legal expenses,
I was gonna
Looking-
say,
looking for
that's
the-
16.
Naomi,
16,000.
we're supposed to have a line for conservation. Is that being put back in there?
I don't think we didn't discuss that.
Because
Putting it back in there.
conservation has.
Asking about that.
Has mentioned it. We
Yeah,
discussed
I
it
don't
at
believe
your
we talked
meeting.
about
It's
that.
going to come back at our meeting, but we have a budget for legal. We've been expecting to be charged all along.
No, you
And
don't have a line item in your budget. You've never had a line item for legal. If you get to conservation, you've never had a line item for legal.
okay,
And when it came time to submit the budget, we never received anything.
Right.
okay.
So the
But-
budget is what the budget is.
But again, that's gonna be discussed tomorrow night because
Yes.
we didn't know that they were basically, because all it says on the receipts is the time that the lawyer was on the phone with us. But we didn't know that very long that they thought they had a
Because
conservation line
that's
legal
money
fee, which they don't have.
that we expect to expend.
Right. So,
I guess we can have that tomorrow night.
Okay, I just wanted to see where that
yeah.
was.
The bond council fees would be reflective of the bond that is on the warrant
Oh, okay.
for the roads.
The roads.
So, and the 10,000 increase on the legal fees is, in the last, as far as long as I've been on the board, we've never been close to 20,000, never. So that's why I said bring up to the 30. I mean, the thing is every time you pick the phone up, it doesn't matter if it's a 10-cent question or if it's major litigation. You pick the
Nothing less than $150
You
for
pick up the
15
phone,
minutes.
the ticker starts. And unfortunately, I personally don't know when the 20,000 was adopted as a number. But in today's legal world, unfortunately, it's a fact of life. So like I said, I'm not saying that 30,000 is gonna cover the legal expenses for 2019, but it's gonna put a closer number to it. Whether it's 10,000, 20,000, I don't know, but.
Are we studying more closely what the drivers are that require us to?
Changes every year. It changes every year, and what the usage that we have, that we need for them. Again, she was at the town, the deeded properties auction. That's costing us money. We've never done that in the tenure I've had. So that's a unexpended one that we don't know about. But again, 6 hours, 7 hours, whatever it was that she was there, it added up, But again, had we not made that decision under her advice in the 11th hour on that property, we could have had higher legal costs because we could have been in a lawsuit. So, again, I know it's a double-edged sword with the legal side. It's absolutely a double-edged sword because you could pay harder on one side if you don't call them and find out if it's legal or not, or you call them and you spend a little bit and try and make sure it's legal.
How much did we spend last year? Or
I don't have that number right in front of me. I think it was.
no, it isn't here. This is not.
No, it's on the other budget.
What was the actual legal
But
fees?
we don't have what
60?
actually is spent.
106.
We have another budget.
106,000?
2017.
And it's not done yet.
No, I knew that.
I have the 18, 12, 18, and what was this?
Yeah, it's on there.
I know.
I'm just curious.
Do we have 2018s?
Yeah, John
We have
said it's almost
18s as of.
100.
18 is 108.
We've spent 74,000.
108? Okay, I'm curious.
108, she's saying.
If you said we've expended
Oh, I think total is
108,000 for this
104.
year,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and I'm looking at the line item here,
Of 20.
Oh, no, 108 was all legal.
I'm sorry, all legal. That's total, so that would be all of them
well, it says 62,000.
for a bottom line figure.
So where's the 108,000? There's 40,000 that I'm not tracking somewhere.
Correct.
Would you like to tell me where that went?
It was deemed under legal, but it was paid for under the bottom line of the operating budget. Under the bottom line figure.
Madam Chairman?
Yes.
On the 12-18 budget sheet, it shows legal fees were budgeted at 20, and we spent 75. Labor Relations budgeted at 25, we spent 12. Planning Board budgeted at 6, we spent 2. And ZBA budgeted at 10, we spent 17, for a total of 106, versus a budget of 62.
Okay, I have to ask a question. Part of the job of the Finance Committee is to ascertain where we're expending our money. Do we have a right to look into the bill and figure out, what the lawsuit did and that kind of stuff? But we do owe it to both the taxpayers and ourselves, and we're looking at these budgets, to say, where are we expending our money? Now, if you're telling me that we expended $40,000 somewhere, and all I know is that it's a bottom line budget, that tells me, as both a resident and the chair of the Finance Committee, that I have no idea where our money is going, which is not an easy way to look for transparency and being able to look at this budget and say, are we managing our money appropriately? Does this budget make sense? Can you help me with that, please?
So, I think at the end of the year, the sheet of line items that is being spent would be a definition of where the money is, all the money went. Does that make sense? I'll finish, but I just want to make sure that makes sense. So at the end, at 12/31, or when we close the books on January 10th, there'll be, a sheet similar to this of the appropriated and what was actually spent, and line items will be over, line items will be under. But that'll be the actual definition of where all the taxpayer money was spent within the operating budget.
So I will be able to track that 40,000?
As far as the 40,000, not within the sheet I'm speaking of, but again, it's you made a couple statements in there, and just so the one statement is where is that bottom line budget going? That's where all the budget, all the bottom line is spent within the itemized line by lines. As far as the 40,000, no, it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's public knowledge. Some of the actual information of what actual was being discussed may have to be redacted.
Correct.
But as far as, if what was, how many hours were spent, et cetera, and maybe on what topic, I don't see why that wouldn't be right to know.
Because both Neil and I have been asking about this since November. And we're still trying to get that. And generally, as Finance Committee, we don't have to put in a right to know request.
Right.
Will the information be available to us before we go to deliberative session?
Let me ask you this. Well, I just want a clarification. Are you looking for January 1st to December 31st? Or are you looking at it month by month, hour by hour, day by day, week by week?
Neil?
By subject for the year. So if there's a particular matter and so many hours are spent on it over the course of the calendar year, that would be helpful to know. I don't need to know it by month or by week, but just a total for the year.
We cannot.
The big hitters of, can it just be a topic rather than say a case? If it was.
Well, labor advice is sort of is a topic, but it's not informative.
If you've got a lawsuit and you're also working on contracts, you can't lump the two together.
Right.
And what we're asking for is a lightweight explanation so we can track that. Because when we sit here and say, we think this is a reasonable budget, they've done this, this, and this, but then when I see this one line item that I did not realize how creative it's gotten, one looks at that, and in our position, we have to say, what is going on? No, we're not you. You can't tell us everything. We do understand that, but we owe it to our constituents, our taxpayers, the voters, however you want to phrase that, to say, this is what we're looking at. This is where it went. If you have questions, they can go to you at that point. But we have to be able to look at those drivers to justify what our recommendations are. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense. I mean, it's one of the things, that's what the committee's been tasked with, is to find out where the money goes in this town and whether to recommend it or not.
So that's what we're looking for. So if it's an investigation we did, we need to know that. Do we need to know anything about that? No, that's not our business. That's your business. if it's, we'll say we got sued by somebody, we do those things. We need to know that. Do we need to know all the jump ropes with it? No, but we do need to be able to look at our people and say, okay, this is what happened. And then we think back, and that's where you start managing your departments of, do we need to watch this more or whatever? But that's part of how we study the finances of this. Does that
It
make
makes
sense?
sense. It makes sense. I mean, I don't want to say that we're, it does sound, obviously 40,000 over is substantial. But, again, I think it's the town and the board trying to be, and the board's plural, trying to be prudent and cautious, overly cautious. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm not trying to tell you exactly where the money was spent tonight. But I think it's the members on this committee know the town has a history.
Yes, and that's part of.
Across all departments and as a whole town, we won't just pick on one
Correct.
entity. So I think that's, where we become overly cautious, and we just want to make sure that all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
Dennis first, then Neil.
So going forward, would you say you could feel confident that your 2019 proposed budget or default budget would cover the legal costs?
Absolutely not.
First of all, you're dealing with employees, you don't know how they're gonna behave.
Yeah, no,
It's a litigious world.
Right.
Or who's gonna sue you because something happened.
Right, no,
So-
I understand that.
But
Best guess.
the faithful answer to your question is no,
It's
absolutely
no,
not.
yeah, okay, no, that's fair.
I mean,
I like
if-
it.
if-
You
That's what I
said
wanna
it.
know. I mean, that's-
You were honest, straight faced with, no.
That may cover us the first few months. But I'm trying to be honest. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's-
and if I could put a number on there that I would feel comfortable with, it'd be a minimum of 70, minimum. But
Yeah.
I think we would overexpend that myself personally. But
I mean, but you're showing 78 anyways as proposed.
well, that's bottom line. I'm talking. I'm talking just.
Oh, you're talking just line
line
one?
79, 320 legal
The
fees.
phone call, legal fees.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would feel confident putting that 70 myself. But again, I know that's not a reasonable request at all. And it's not like we're, I know that when we contact the town attorney, we're not asking how vacation was. That's not, that, we're not asking that.
sure?
I'm fairly sure, I'm 99% sure. We're not asking how vacation
I
was.
wouldn't even start with hello.
Right. Just right, like I say, right to the point, right? Right to the point. Yeah, you got caller identification, you know who it is, get on it,
They know
right? Yeah,
it's
exactly,
coming.
right. So, I mean, trying to be prudent and say that 30,000 is a reasonable number is false. There's
Okay.
no way.
All right.
And that's
Thank you.
part
I
of
appreciate
our
it.
questions because we have this wonderful history, but that answer is very honest and greatly appreciated by this board. Neil?
In 2017, you spent $106,000. I don't know what was budgeted. In 18, we budgeted 62 and spent another 106. This year, you're proposing 78. You've said there's no plan to bring it down to that, and you frankly
Well,
think-
we want to, trust me,
No,
Neil,
I-
we want to spend zero. At the end of the day, we want to spend zero.
I understand that, but there's no plan put in place to ensure that we can do it with 78, and I can understand why that would be difficult. So what you're really telling us with your no is that the difference between 78 and 106, let's call that $26,000, is going to come out of somebody else's budget. So there will be many things in this budget that we're proposing to spend money on that we can't. Benji won't be able to spend it on the highways, the police chief won't be able to spend it on whatever, the fire department won't be able to spend it. Is that a reasonable way to budget? I mean, shouldn't you really have put in 106 here?
I mean, we could have put that in there, you're right. We've always, I mean, again, in my track history, and maybe Tom could, say more to this, is, we've always covered it with the bottom line. I mean, and it's, again, the 20,000 is a, again, I'll be honest, is a dream. I would like it to be that. I'd like it to be zero, but unfortunately, it is what it is where we're at now. Trying to keep, our tails out of the sling.
But we've also been on default, to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
You don't know what we proposed the last couple of years, we'd have to look back.
Right.
Right, but
We've had
I know that
default.
last year, I think we
So
proposed
we've
30
always
as well.
defaulted back to the 60 number.
Yeah.
even with the default budget, the departments have specific needs that they request and they ask for every year. And it seems every year we go, sorry,
No, you're fine.
The heat is on.
The heat is definitely on.
in October,
Yes,
and we
the
always
fry
hear
pan.
we're on a freeze.
Mhm.
And then the year ends, and oh gee, now we have money, and you hear that, and I'm not attacking, but it seems to be one department gets more leeway on expenditures and things than the other two. And it seems to be a track record we have, which, when you're looking at a budget such as this, we're seeing the warrant articles, we're looking at the percentage. Neil brings up an accurate point. We're looking at this and we're like, okay, you know, they're not getting the things that they're supposed to because we're monkeying around with the budget because of this, but we see this group over here that hasn't necessarily done its due diligence in one or two areas. Now we need to cover that, but they're getting hit over here. And for us, it's very confusing, and it makes me look at it and say, gee, maybe we really don't need to have all this money in the budget if we're not going to let them have the stuff they need to begin with. So I think we're looking for some clarification and more consistency. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Do you see where we're national?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I mean, that's the thing at the end of the year. I mean, and you know, I mean, I've been around long enough to hear, you know, we've overexpended our line even before I even thought about getting on a board. You know, we've overexpended the line. We're on a freeze. I've heard all these terms thrown around before, and you know, I definitely do agree that, you know, we as the Board of Selectmen are the agents to manage the money. You know, we're not the bankers, but we're to manage the money.
Your mom and dad. You're in charge, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you're right. And again, we try to rely on our department heads that we've put in place, you know, to manage their money, their bottom line. They know what they have to spend at the beginning of the year, and they know at the end of the year they can't come looking to mom and dad for more money. You know, that they do know. But again, can we present the money, the info they're asking for the.
Yeah, but when you come to labor,
Yeah.
labor is personnel, I can't tell you.
We can probably give you an hour number, but we can't give you cases or
Right.
anything like that.
But I
Right.
guess I have an honest question. We're looking at 19, and what you're looking for is nice to know, but it's already been spent.
But the
So it's nice information, but at the same time, going forward, we're trying to be hopeful that we won't have the reoccurring situations.
That is true. However, by law, when you expend taxpayer money, they have the right to know where that money was spent.
Which we've always been, other
And
than,
that's one of these questions, if we want to know where it was spent. Yes, it's already been spent, but we want to
and
know.
we're hoping it's not reoccurring. That's
Oh,
why
we
we're-
all love that part.
Oh, we really hope it's not
Again,
reoccurring.
You're dealing with people.
Right.
People think the Brinks truck stops out front every day.
I thought it grew on
Because-
trees.
You know what I mean? I just, you're dealing with everybody that likes
Yeah.
to sue everybody regardless. I mean, I talked a guy off a tree today we took his mailbox down and God, you thought we did a whole bunch of damage, you know what I mean? So there's all these things that we do our best to do, and we have 50 employees that we hope behave all year. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's a lot of it, we're moving forward, I think, in the right direction, but I
Right, but-
can't help how people act.
Right, but when we went to court several years ago, when I first hit this town,
Oh, we were in court all the time.
yes, we
above the
were,
fold,
and we
yeah.
knew the costs of what we were spending, what we were paying out. And we are entitled to know that. The taxpayers are entitled to know that. They don't all have the same level of awareness of what we know we are entitled to know. And in the spirit of transparency and doing a good job for my committee and my taxpayers, these are things we should know. And that's all we're asking for. Does that,
Yeah, it's gonna take a while, because it's gonna have some redactions, though. It has to.
no, we understand that.
Well,
I guess
Go ahead.
for clarification, I would like to know like what we're expecting
Yeah.
going forward. I don't necessarily want to look back. Maybe if we're expecting any of those recurring costs to come back. My other question is, if you expect this to be more than double of what you are proposing, I'm confused as to why you're not
Proposing it.
right.
At board level, I don't know. I'm a pretty honest guy up here. I mean, like I said absolutely not, you know. So, I mean, we could put it at that. Unfortunately, you know, if we were to do that with every line that was reflective of that, we'd be at 14% increase. Or what have you.
And you would definitely see a default budget.
Exactly. I mean, so that right there is a overall answer. But I think that you know, again, you hope that everybody, again, that the residents are all happy and don't come after the town, and all the employees are happy and don't come after the town. But I understand what you're saying. I would like to put a higher number on there, but again, I don't want to be a 14% increase on our operating budget.
Really?
Go ahead, Tom.
Well, you know, this is one of the issues with default budgets, and why I hope that we can work, the Finance Committee and Board of Selectmen can work together to agree on a proposed budget, because when you go year after year with a default budget and you look at the percentage of increase or the dollar amount of increase, then you really are not getting a true picture, because even you take that 2.8% of whatever it is for the proposed budget increase, that comes off from a default budget last year. So, you know, what would that, if we had the same budget that were being presented to us, and last year we'd passed the proposed budget, that percentage could technically be much smaller. But, I mean, every time that there's a default budget, the next year's increase is going to have to make up some of the ground. And so that's one issue. This, you know, obviously I lived through a lot of this court stuff over the last 12 years.
And now you're on our
Well, I don't see it as our team, their team. I see it as we've got to find a way to come together so that we pass proposed budgets. And I think that this kind of a conversation that we're having and this kind of a give and take will help us to lead to that, so that there aren't any questions, because they've been answered. And we can come up with a solution here so that we get onto a track of having our proposed budgets that are presented actually passed and not always working from behind with the default. This I'm really stepping in another role, and I apologize, I'll be very brief with
Okay.
it. But just, you know, sometimes we've had to move people out in the past, meaning fire.
Oh, okay.
And
People out.
and then you deal with arbitration costs, followed by legal costs that go through a long period of time because of procrastination. And, you know, it's like, I can feel for you guys, got to been there, done that. But I'm saying that there's not the simple answer, except, yes, that line is probably going to cost more than what it says. And that's why the budget is frozen every October or November with essentials only, because the board has a responsibility to make it balance at the end. Again, I'm out of line here, I know, because I'm jumping into different shoes by saying that.
Go ahead, Donna.
Ricky, if I forget again.
Yeah.
Maybe you do have a crystal ball for this. What's on the table left behind us that needs to be maybe used for this?
As far as the unexpended fund balance?
Suing, the legal fees.
Oh, like what legal
Like
could be
what's
transferring on in
left.
2019?
Yeah. Can you, maybe I guess that's more of a question that I'm,
Can't think of anything. That doesn't mean tomorrow.
no, I understand that, but is there anything from the past that's gonna sneak up behind us that's on the table now?
There's only one I can think of.
That's all I wanna
That I
know.
can think of is one. I can think of one.
I'm kinda happy with that, just so that
But
we don't
it's-
have
but it's pending.
5 or 6 still
No,
lingering.
Exactly. I mean, again, we try and, I'm not, we try and clean. We don't try and sweep
Oh, I
under the carpet, but we
understand.
try and clean every year at the end of the year.
But I was just wondering what was left on the table that might come up and hit us
That
with
I believe,
this
and it's
amount.
right now
But
it's
there's one,
it's
we
it's
might
in
make
it's
it
in limbo right now.
so far.
So I can't tell you if it's going to be have a resolution in 2019, 2020. I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But there's one.
There's
I
only
can
one
think
that
of-
you know that's.
Right off the top of my head, at the question time, that's like the only thing of was one. So
Okay, thank you.
Are we asking general questions now, or are we still going line by line?
I'm trying to go section by
The
section.
legals.
Line by section.
I have some
tied
general
up on-
questions, but I'll wait till you're done with your line by line.
Okay. And I just want to thank Tom, because, again, this is my first year as chairman of the board. Definitely the youngest member of the board. It's definitely been a learning curve and a struggle at some points in time. I definitely turned to Naomi and Beth for a lot of help. Like I said, Tom was always the voice of experience behind us. So, a lot of the stuff I've learned about town functions, I learned from Mr. Clote. So, just want to thank him.
Okay, onward and forward. Yes. Donna, did you have anything else?
No, just
Okay.
I wanted to see what was left over.
So, yes.
No, go ahead.
Finance administrator. The proposed is down, and again, I believe that is due to insurance.
Finance administrator.
Finance. So it's down. It's not down by much, but it's down a little bit. Questions?
Did you change insurance companies? Is that what?
No, they set the rates. We don't know that until roughly. I mean, when we find out last week.
Well, you get a guaranteed maximum rate in October.
Right.
But you don't actually get the rate until later.
Yeah. There's an estimate, and then we get it
So you
finalized.
get an estimate, and then when they actually set it the first week in December, you get the actual.
Right, because they
Be a
do the
big difference this
exposure
year,
ratio.
right?
Yeah,
What's the
decrease. Yeah.
decrease?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Which again, it could be an increase next year. We don't know. We only know for 19. We don't know what 2020 could hold. So town clerk down as well. Health insurance plays a part. Anything on town clerk? Selectman's office. That one, the proposed line is up, and that is for the, mostly for the town administrator's contract and the wages for the department secretary.
Question on that contract.
Yes.
How many, are there step increases in that contract?
There are, but I believe 19 is not one of them.
Nope.
Right,
Nope.
19 is not
For
one
the
of them.
First 2 years, there's zero.
Yes, and
then
she's not in the pool
there's
either.
no steps that I would be part of the raised pool, whatever they decide
Right.
after the second year.
After the second year, so
Correct.
this would be the second year?
This is the second year, yes.
Correct.
Okay, and how long is the contract for? Until the next one, or did they have a finite
It has a 5, right? 5 years.
5 years?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just to clarify again, the big difference there is because of the default budget last year.
Oh, that was the other thing, on the explanation for the language, I don't know where my note says, says contract renewal 2017. Does that refer to the fact that it was a default budget? Is that why the explanation?
The contract was signed in 17,
Right.
the end of
Okay.
the year. And in 18, we ended up with default, so that's why the number still looks that way.
Mhm.
Because the approved budget was a default number.
Okay,
so
that's what I
why-
wondered.
Yeah, that's why it's still showing the way it shows.
So if this budget were to go to default, you would be at 78,000?
Nope.
No.
I still get the 92.
Have to come up with a
But it would come out of
The bottom line.
Yep.
Questions?
Questions?
Cable committee. We spoke to we initially had cut a couple of the lines from the cable committee down some because they hadn't spent them, but under recommendation of the cable members, we put them back. Again, it's there's a lot of donated time and work that goes into that, the cable committee. We also, you know, and we appreciate all the work that they put in, that all the volunteers put in town-wide. You know, obviously, if any of you have seen inside the cabinet, it got a lot smaller rather quickly. So they put a new sound mixer for the microphones in there, and it's a lot smaller. But, so, you know, expenses like that, we don't know when they're gonna come up. So they asked to leave the line where it is, and we did, so. Trustees is proposed up because of training. There's obviously legal obligations that the trustees of the trust funds have. So to make sure that they're acting in the best interest, you know, we'd like to send them to potentially a couple classes just to make sure that they know their responsibilities and limitations. So that's why the proposed is up to 150 for that training. Land use.
What is that?
Land use would be like your current use, and zoning, right? And zoning, so. Under the same office roof in there, but two different sections, code enforcement and land use. Government buildings.
So is that Chip, is that what you're saying? Chip?
Chip and Wendy in that office, yes.
Who's the coordinator then? Who's the wages? Is that the
Chip. That's Chip,
Okay.
yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Government buildings, as of a couple years ago, we decided to move all of the heating expenses into the government buildings, town office building lines. And that's a reflection of, again, the numbers haven't really, they've gone up because of the heating costs have gone up, fuel costs have gone up. We just, within the last couple weeks, did set the fuel rate that we intended on, the fuel costs. It fluctuates, but you know, a municipality doesn't spend, as far as the, let me back that up. When it comes to the propane and the heating oil, we contract in with a vendor. I was going off on another tangent on petroleum products, but those two items, petroleum and, propane and the heating oil, we contract in. So those are the set rates, and again, we're at the mercy of whatever petroleum costs are, so.
With the fuel last year, and again,
Heating
this is
fuel
no
or
tip, but
gasoline
this is
fuel?
gasoline.
Yep.
You know, it's always a.
This section is not.
Okay, I'll
Does
wait
not,
for that
does not
one then.
encompass that, right. That would be in the department line item, would be
Okay.
the fuels. And also in this one now too is due to the warrant where the radio repeater sites were electrified via AC power rather than solar. Now that is also encompassed here in the last line, 410, or 204 on the spreadsheet. So that,
Okay.
it says electric for the fire radio sites. It covers the fire and the PD, but again, that's the electrical cost for that, so.
The highway in on that, Ricky, for the radios?
The highway is not, because this only covers the voter sites, the little ones that on top of the cistern and stuff like that. They're not on that.
Be feasible to do that?
The highway department uses mostly mobile radios in the truck radios, and they have enough power to get to Mine Hill behind Dimitri's, to the repeater site. So it's not really practical to put them in there.
Right.
But where the PD and the fire use portable radios on the hip, they're practical for that. Any other questions? Cemeteries? We did contract in again for lawn care. It's $3,000 higher for the year, and that is going to be a consistent number for 19, 20, 21. It's a 3-year contract, and they didn't go up, so. Insurances? The proposed is a accurate reflection of the insurance liability for the town. It's gone down. Again, it all depends on if everybody plays nice in the sandbox. So, And unfortunately, we have been, and again, it's a 5-year track record, but again, we're playing nice in the sandbox, that's all I'll say. Questions?
We're good.
Advertising. Advertising as far as putting notifications in the newspaper, public hearings, et cetera.
Jobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this
Some
also when
jobs-
you do RFPs and things like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, and some jobs do come out of the individual line items, the individual budgets, as far as like, truck driver position or,
Public hearing notices.
yeah, public hearing notices do come out of this line right here too as well, so. Police Department, I'm gonna sidestep that because you guys haven't seen them.
Right, now, when we do PD, just for my piece of questioning, you're going to be there, are you going to be there too?
I'm
or
gonna
is
try and
this-
be there.
I think that's
I'm
a
gonna
good
try and be there.
idea.
Excuse me. And highway too.
Yes.
Benji holds his own pretty well. I'll be there, try to be there. Emergency management, did Chief Azina talk about that? Okay, since he is the director. Okay, so we're up to code enforcement.
That's Chip.
Yes.
Retirement accrual.
Yeah, the retirement accrual, and also the health insurance. He's now, like I said, taking the health insurance, so that's higher.
Now, this is for this coming year, correct?
Yes.
Retiring in April.
I heard there's a possibility of him retiring.
Possible.
So have we figured in whatever we're planning to do?
I
with that?
believe we as the board have not talked yet about that, so I don't really want to put a whole lot of light onto that.
All right, but-
We've been kind of saturated with numbers, so.
Right, but again, you don't want to see.
No, I don't
"Oops,
want to
we
go away,
didn't think about this,"
but
and
on the
boom.
other side of it too, where he's now where he wanted to take the insurance, that puts a high, I say it puts a higher number in there, which would be closer, maybe not an accurate representation, but a closer to a person if they were to take this and to have a family plan. It'd be, I'm not saying that it would be the number,
Right.
but, or if that, it depends on, what?
Health insurance is split, Wendy's in there. And
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Wendy's in there too, it's not just
So it's
Chip,
not-
so it's actually two people in there, excuse me, yes. See, always filling in for me. So.
No, Wendy's in there. Wendy decided she had a change of
Status.
home life, whatever. And so she took the insurance
Mhm.
on open enrollment. So
Mhm.
her and Chip are in here. It's
Yep.
not an increase for proposed.
Right.
So it's.
Right, but knowing that that is a possibility,
Yeah.
Again, from our point of view, we need to know, are we going to get oops, hey, we decided to do this, and no, it's not in the budget. and
Right, we're trying.
Here we go with
I
the
don't want to
bottom
say we're
line.
trying to plan for that, but
Right.
it just happens to kind of work out that way.
Okay.
The bonus accrual, vacation bonus accrual of almost $16,000, what is that?
That is for both members of that, and they are in, what?
That's when you accrue time while you're here.
Yeah.
And when you retire.
You
and
get
you're
it.
over 55, you get your accruals paid out to you as a retirement. When you leave and change your job, you leave them on the table. But if you're here for 55 years old, X amount of years, and you retire,
You're entitled to it
you're
all.
entitled to your accruals. So those are the accruals that he has.
Okay, so we don't have to, so you can, you're not, I apologize, you don't have to like take your vacation. He can, as an employee, you can keep accruing that and not.
There's a cap.
There's a
You can
cap
only
according to the
accrue
town
1.5
personnel policy.
times.
Mhm.
So I'll use me.
Okay.
I'm easy to target. So, 200, I've been here 23 years.
Yep.
February will be 24. So I earn the most you can earn is 5 weeks vacation.
Mhm.
So at no time can I have more than 1.5 times. So I can't have more than 300 hours of vacation. But if I go to leave and I have 300 hours, you're gonna pay me my 300 hours and my sick time, because I've been here for eons. And your sick time maxes out at 720 hours if you don't use it. So that's the accruals. But being a salary person, you don't get personal time, you don't get comp time. bonus days, because salary. So there's those two, but sick is based on the number of years you've been here, there's a chart.
Okay.
If you've been here a certain amount of years, you get 25%, 50%, 75%, or 100%. 30 years or 100%, so I still have a few more years to go.
Okay. So we're assuming that he's maxed out and he's kept
I don't know that
everything
he's
that he.
maxed out, because he hasn't been here that long, but it's based on what you make an hour, times how many hours you have.
Okay.
So, but I
Neil?
believe the cost for, if I'm not wrong, the cost is in there too. Like there's a 7.65, is that in there too?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you have X amount that you're gonna pay them, you also have the 7.65% of the taxes in there.
Yep.
So it's a total for the accrual package.
Neil?
How does this affect his pension?
That's a personal question you'd ask them.
No, I mean, the retirement system, does it cost the town more money?
No, there's no contributions taken out of accrual.
Anyone else?
All good. Forest fires, I would like to think that Chief is going to fill in for Warden Eaton on that. Highway Department, you see him tomorrow night, is that correct? I mean, on Thursday night?
Correct.
Yes. Tomorrow night we're here. I'm getting my days mixed up. Street lighting, line 420 in the spreadsheet.
I thought you said tree lighting.
I thought this was.
Hey, we just moved past that season, all right?
It's like, are we getting a giant Christmas tree?
We
Yeah.
had no tree.
That's right, we had no tree. Again, that's the estimated rate from PSNH to keep all the lights on around the exteriors. So. The transfer station, I'm gonna let Benji do that.
I would think.
Yeah. Yep. And sewer, that's Mr. Knapp. Hope he's feeling better. Water treatment, that's gonna be Mr. Knapp as well. Animal control, that's gonna be Chief Kelly. Health, something I can talk about.
Who's health?
Huh?
Who's the health officer?
Kelly,
Yeah.
Dearborn Loose.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'll be honest, I don't know exactly what that section covers. I'll be honest with you,
Well,
100%.
she works with the nurse for,
The schools.
school nurses for the health care. If you have a flu clinic, or if you have a
Okay.
health, I can't think of the word, but, and then if there's somebody that has, she does daycare inspections, she does the foster care inspections. If there's a problem that, we had a lot of rats this year, so health issue, people complain, she looks into it, she follows up. I mean, it's a stipend position, so she does what she needs to do when she's here. And she usually does her, inspections on weekends, so she does a job.
okay. Thank you.
The welfare, we have a responsibility to take care of the needy in the town. That position, as far as the salary, is split with the selectman's office secretary. Is that correct saying that so?
So it's Mary.
So it's Mary, that's correct. And that's why you see the reflection of the line 520 retirement system, retirement services. So that's why that's now in there, is to reflect that hourly rate to a full-time employee. So. Parks and Rec. Small decrease. And for those of you who don't know, the Parks and Rec director is retiring at the end of the year from her position. So, well, I believe 2019. So,
Who is it currently?
Karen Stogner.
Hmm?
Karen Stogner. She made that announcement to the board a few months ago.
Yeah, she'll be leaving in November.
November,
This
yeah.
year.
So she's gonna get us through this year,
Yeah.
2019, but she is leaving, and we thank her for her service to the town. Any questions on Parks and Recs? There was one line that we did ask about.
Maintenance.
Maintenance. It didn't seem like it was expended, but did it get expended or no? No. So, we did ask that, but we haven't heard a response yet. It was $5,000 unexpended. And, you know, we've been hearing right along that, you know, everything's in desperate need of work. So, we have an ex officio on there, and we're gonna have, just have the question raised. So. And that was when we were going through the worksheets line by line on our own, so. Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. Good to get up and stretch. I'm not sure if there's any questions on it. It's a decrease of a couple percent from last year, or of 1% from last year. Mainly, we're paying less in heat. We replaced our furnace, and it's far more efficient, so we're spending a little less in heat. Replaced our photocopier, we're spending less on supplies, those kinds of things. A little bit here, a little bit there.
Questions?
Just want to hear my knees creak and make me get up, right?
Yeah, I want to sit down for a second.
Still got to finish the text. Somebody has to have something now.
Patriotic.
I'm back again.
Purposes?
All right, yeah, patriotic purposes, that would be for the Memorial Day, putting the flags up. Cemeteries.
Doesn't the Legion do that?
Legion does do that, but it's funded by the town. If I'm,
Okay, I thought
I'm
it
not
was a
speaking out of
50-50
turn,
split, but.
No,
yeah, it's funded by the town, but the Legion actually does,
they actually put them out.
does the work for us to put it out.
Boy Scouts that were in Boy Scouts when my son was,
Yeah,
Peter Green did a layout, a plot plan for all of those flags.
Yeah.
That was his Eagle project.
that's good. It's good. It's good to know they're all recognized. So, Conservation Commission, it's down a little bit. Again, it's transcriber wages that went down a little bit. And the technology, just, again, it's a number that they present to us. So. Economic development, placeholdering it this year. Oh,
What is that?
that's a good question. I don't know.
But,
Economic development,
but just that we've had no members for years.
right, it was a
The
board.
committee?
It was a committee, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it was active about 15 years ago.
Yeah,
It
to
hasn't
attract
been
businesses to the town.
oh, but it's not doing anything.
It's kind of defunct, kind of like the building committee and other committees we have that are defunct because of,
Heritage Commission, with several.
yeah. So,
Okay.
you may see that leave at some point, but not for 2019. We're just
Okay.
placeholdering it for $1. Just want to make sure I didn't go past it. Yeah, ambulance. Ambulance billing fee, there is a fee that comes out, but that is paid
Right.
for out of the SRF. But it has to be reported on because it's an expenditure. The debt service, the bond payment, and the interest of the garage bond payment. They're fixed. Town voted on them. I believe this is the last year for the grader. Yes. Last year, the grader lease payment, the $64,000, and the ambulance was paid for in full in 2018. So, no, the ambulance payment obviously was coming out of that special
Right.
revenue fund, but again, it has to be reported on here.
Okay, that makes sense. Any questions?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes, general questions.
Just a general question.
Yes.
Your overall budget's up, say 2.7%, not too bad. But all your major departments are up like 7.3%, 7.3%, 5.0%, 9.2%. And I'm, just to comment that Tom's making earlier, I think that's one of the reasons you don't get your proposed budget passed. I mean, if you were actually maintaining everything at 2.7%, you're, obviously, the whole thing would be a lot lower, because I'm guessing, like insurance, the places you were saving it that were freebies, if you will, that you were charging us for before, but, not only you, but that were driving the cost up before.
I don't take it personal, but yeah.
I didn't think you did.
No.
Want to make sure.
No.
But now that it's driving the cost down, you're not letting the budget go down, you're basically.
Well, I think, and, you know, I respect your opinion, but on the other side of it, I'm going to respectfully, you know, disagree. And, you know, again, I talked to Chairman Roberts of the Board of Fire Wards last night when we were leaving the Selectmen's meeting. And, you know, we spoke about the purchase of the last fire truck that we had. And it took 4 years, even though the money was there. And this is just an example. The money was there, but because we put it to the taxpayers, they voted it down. I think it was 4 years we went for that truck. The cost of that truck went up almost over $45,000 in 4 years. The money was there, but the cost went up, so we got less of a truck for the same money. The emission standard changed, and that was a huge, number. But again, it was cost went up. So I'm not saying that the 7% and the 5% and the 9% are all cost adjustments due to things being more expensive. But, you know, the other thing that we have also done too, but that could be a contributor to it. The other thing too is, we entrust our department heads to recommend what they need. You know, I don't know how to grade a road. I don't know how to, tactfully pull somebody over and issue a speeding ticket. I know a thing or two about putting fires out. But, the other thing is, again, we have to entrust these department heads we put in place. And they are trying to look out for what's best for, and I will not say they're greedy. They're looking to try and move their department and make it do the best that it can for this town. So their recommendations for the proposed budget are what you see. And that would be, Neil? I'm sorry. I'm just so used to seeing the hand.
Go right ahead.
So I just,
Why is it that the general fund, your budget, covers the ambulance billing fee?
I believe
Since the ambulance money goes into the special account, why does the general fund, rather than the special account, cover that $9,000?
It's I think, I answered, I think that, you have to gross budget, and you don't budget for the revenue fund. You don't budget, that's a revenue stream. So you have to budget the expense. It comes out of, because on your revenue side, if you ever looked at your revenue sheet, you're gonna see the ambulance billing for $9,000 on the other side. So it ties together for zero. But you have to show it and expense it the way we expense it, and then bring it in on the revenue side, so it's zero impact.
Thank you.
Can I add something? I understand what Keith's saying, but I think at the end of the day, we're in it all together. Whether, Maureen's department runs very well, she brings in a ton of money. Sharon collects the taxes, she brings in a ton of money. But I think we're all in it together, whether my department's down and somebody's up. I think at the end of the day, we provide the service for the town in all different facets. There's just, the safety services seems to be the one that everybody screams for, because you want the ambulance, you want the fire, you want your road plowed, you want someone to call if somebody's breaking in. So we can't show you that on our side, but when you come to register your car, you come to call and complain, we're here. You know what I'm saying? So I think, and I totally get it, I mean, the school has all sorts of people too. You've got the janitors. I don't know that you guys see and weigh against the custodial staff versus everybody else. We show you a tremendous amount of detail. And like I said, I don't know what you see at the school. I don't have time to analyze it. But I'm just saying, we give you a ton of detail and trying to be transparent, but I think at the end of the day, we're all in it for the town side. Whether it be conservation, whether it be some of your smaller departments make every difference as well.
And it wasn't too many years ago, it was only 2 years ago that there was a adjustment made at the deliberative session to the operating budget of over $100,000. And, fortunately and unfortunately, the big three, that's what we call them, the departments absorb that for the rest of the town. And that right there, I mean, again, it wasn't their responsibility to, but they stepped up and said, well, we'll help you out with this. It really, I'm not saying it withdrew any emergency services that they provide by each department, but they had to become more fiscal with what they had.
Things that they wanted or needed, they couldn't get because of that.
You take that $108,000 and say, okay, there's 35 departments, divide it, and you have to come up with this much money.
Yeah.
It just wasn't there.
There's not that wiggle
So the
room in some
three
departments.
larger departments
But
came
it'd be
forward and
fun.
put our heads
Oh.
together, and that's where they all said, all the small departments can't do it, so let's take and divide it amongst the three of us. And that's what happened, which consequently kicks the can down the road one more time, because that 108 got cut and divided by the three larger departments. And we're still fighting that with default.
Right.
I have to say you've done an excellent job as far as explanations, patience, constantly updating us. Obviously, we're going to have to deliberate.
Oh, absolutely, but that's what you guys are for.
And, obviously, we'll be talking back and forth with you. There is no question that the schools eat the biggest part of the sandwich.
Yeah.
That's something we all have to look at. We also have to weigh what the average taxpayer in town, which isn't the people up here and it's not the people here, the bigger percentage is the lower percentage. And we have to weigh that regardless of whether we want to push proposed budgets or not. Our job is to weigh what can those people afford versus what we're all asking for, and is it all able to be done? And that's something we have to wrestle with and come back to you and say, this is what we're struggling with. Can you help us? Tonight, we're going to start setting the dates for those discussions because we've got to start having them. And next week is going to be a busy week. The next 2 weeks are going to be very busy. Naomi, can you please tell us what the lineup is for things coming down the pike for, public hearings?
Well, Monday night's the public hearing on all the budget and the warrant articles.
Okay.
And bond. From there, depending on the public input, we'll develop a final budget. That has to be posted by the 28th of January. At that point, it's kind of at a standstill until deliberative session, which is February 9th, which is a Saturday at 9 o'clock. From there,
When do we have to have our recommendations in?
A week before
that's
that.
entitled, that honestly is, that you guys do your own handout for deliberative session.
Right, but you do send things out
The
for
mailer.
the mailer
No,
and
no,
things.
but, wait. The mailer happens after deliberative session and the ballots are set. Then, because you guys always have gotten together and made your recommendations for deliberative session. At deliberative session, articles could change.
Yes.
So then we take and make a final, the ballot gets printed, and we make the final articles. At that point, you guys then make your final recommendations, which creates the mailer. I don't have those deadlines, but they're shortly after the 9th, because we're the last ones to meet, I believe, this year.
Yes,
You guys
because
are
the
meeting with both
schools,
And we're the last one.
the schools are doing all their presentations next week.
No. For your deliberative session.
Right.
It's gonna be the first week in February, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. So we're the last one. So after that, we put together the final warrant article. Then you guys will have to meet one more time, make your recommendations for the mailer, because I'll need that within the next week, so that our anticipation is to get the mailer out a week before voting, which is the 12th. So I'd like to have it out the end of, around the 1st of February, around the 1st of March, I'd like to have the mailer ready to go out.
Okay. Neil?
How much time before the 1st do you need our input?
Well, not waiting until the end. Last time I had to wait till the end. I'd like I said, that around the 20th, I have to get it to the printer to allow him time to get it back.
So would you like it by the 15th? Would that make you?
doesn't happen. I'll say 20. I've tried the 15 before, it doesn't happen. I'm willing to work, I mean, with everybody. It's worked well, but if I said the 15th, it's unrealistic.
Okay. Okay, Finance Committee, we need to start picking dates to, you can actually, not that I'm dismissing you, but have a chair and relax a little bit.
I like that.
You're off deck at the moment.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody's input and questions. You know, we're only a board of 5. Sometimes, you know, thoughts or further, you know, thought processes may slip us, and that's why, you know, again, you guys are, you know, a great input and great tool, and I always enjoy seeing you guys out in the audience at our meetings, you know, making sure that we're still on
Are
our
you
toes.
open to, if we have questions or want to work on things, to come back and have discussions with us?
Yeah, as long as I can be here, as long as I have a conflict,
Yeah, we're
conflict of
open to
meeting.
discussions.
Yeah.
You won't get an answer from us because we'd have to sit as a
Well,
group.
we got the
Right.
same problem, so.
Right,
But if we
right.
showed up back here and you had a suggestion, we couldn't tell you yes or no.
Yeah.
Right.
But we could definitely take a note and bring it back to the board.
Right, because it's, you know, it's not always easy at the Board of Selectmen meetings to have those conversations.
Right. No, I know. Trust me, I know. So, thank you, everybody.
Okay, before we pick any dates, my secretary needs to make a motion on minutes.
Oh. We need to approve the minutes for 28 November and 18 December, the last two, because we didn't approve the November ones when we were here in December.
It's a November date.
And
What's the November date?
I have the 28th of November.
Why don't we just take that? I'll move that we approve the minutes of November 28th.
Second.
Of which date?
November
28th
28th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Nays? So moved?
And then we have the 18th of December. Let me make sure. Yep. 18th of December, we didn't approve those draft minutes.
Bill, is that the date that I had the correction?
I'm looking.
Tammy thinks it's the 19th, I don't know
No,
which
that was
date
from
it
last
is.
week.
No, it
Last
was the, I've got it here. No, it was Tuesday, the 18th. We met.
Pardon me?
Because yours dealt with the fire chief's presentation. I move to approve the minutes of December 18th.
Second.
All in favor?
I
So moved? Do we have anything else you need to approve?
And then we met,
Yeah.
yeah, we
January
just met last week. And I just put the minutes out today, so you may not have, we may want to wait on that if you haven't read them.
Yeah, I don't know that Mary's put them out yet. has she?
Right. I put them out to us, but
Yeah, I don't think she's put them on. the
I think
website.
we'll wait on those till the next one, because I just got them out today, so we'll just call it the other two.
Okay, now for the fun and games. Before we go any further, this is the point where, as chair, I have to remind everybody, unless you are dying or you have a terrible family tragedy, now we have to be here because we are not going to go back and re-educate everybody on everything. Now it's about deliberating, and it's about everybody having opinions and checking out all the information. We're not all going to agree, and that's okay. But now is where we do our heavy lifting. These meetings can get long, and there can be a lot of them. So, next week, do we have a date that works? Neil, do you have a planning board meeting next week?
Planning Board meets this Thursday,
Oh.
the 10th, and also the 24th.
So nothing next week.
Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday is good with me.
What are you doing?
Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday are good.
Okay.
I cannot
Can
do
we do
Mondays.
Monday or Wednesday? Thursday, I have a meeting for work.
Okay, Mondays is the Board of Selectmen meeting, which makes it difficult.
That's the budget hearing, right? So Wednesday.
Public session.
How about Wednesdays?
Wednesday's fine with me.
Wednesdays?
Public session.
Next Wednesday, 16th?
Yeah.
Yeah, Monday's public hearing for the town.
For what?
For town. Public hearing for the schools
is
is
Monday?
actually the 9th and the,
Town public hearing, she's.
It's the budget hearing for
yeah,
Ware.
for Weare.
What public hearing is,
Weare Schools is a public hearing tomorrow, 9 January. And
Weare
then for
Schools?
Stark.
That's
Stark
for
is
Weare?
on the- That's for Weare.
There, yep.
Stark is on the 11th,
Okay.
and the town is on the 14th for public hearing of their budgets.
so are we doing the
and
16th?
That's next Wednesday, that's good.
Yes,
We are, okay.
6:30?
I would say 6:30.
Good.
And we'll see. We can always add more days to this. My question is, what do you want to lead off with? Do you want to wrestle with the town, or do you want to wrestle with the school? Because you're not going to be able to get them both done in one night.
I think the schools are easier.
Okay. So do we want to start with the high school? Because they are the most simple to do.
Yep.
The least encumbrancy. And if that goes well, we can start on Weare in the elementary.
Can I have the dates again for Weare School and high school?
Where, the hearing, the public hearing
Yeah,
for Weare is tomorrow.
it is tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Yep,
What time?
midnight.
Friday.
See, I don't have that, I don't have the
I have
time.
6 p.m., yeah.
6 PM, middle school,
Yeah.
library. Yeah.
At the high school.
Can you send out an email with all that info,
Sure.
please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm good, yeah. I love it, yeah.
Are we meeting on the 10th?
Just,
Then
oh, that'll help me next
We
year.
have no
when I'm off the
budget,
board.
Keith.
Off the committee, yeah. You'll have people signing up to do this.
Yeah, basically, that's why I was like, meeting after Thursday.
Yes.
Okay.
The hearing.
Bosses.
Remember
Announced that I'm
Thursday,
resigning.
we
I'm
are
like,
meeting-
Yeah, we'd be there.
Everybody,
We're not wusses.
we are meeting this Thursday at 6:30 with Highway, PD, Naomi, and I think Ricky will be here. That's what he said he was. Are you over there somewhere? You shrunk.
Yes, I'm gonna try and be there, do my best to be there.
Tom, question.
Thursday.
You put down 7 for the school, is it 6 or 7?
Which?
Where middle school,
the time?
library,
6
public
PM.
hearing, 7.
6
One-
p.m.
6 PM on the night.
Friday.
Okay.
The one at Stock is
Let's
Friday.
see.
And on Thursday, we're meeting at 6:30 too?
Yes.
It's actually 7, they usually put 6, you want.
Was that
Yeah,
wrong in the
right.
email?
Yeah,
Oh.
if you had 7.
Okay, I better correct it myself. It's over an hour late.
Does anyone know what time the Stark public hearing is on the 11th?
6.
6?
Now that, the meeting,
6 is the tour, 7 is the board meeting.
so the tour is at 6?
Correct.
Then they'll start a
Seven's
board
the
meeting.
Now, is the board meeting at a time certain or just following the tour?
I'm pretty sure it's at a time certain because it's posted.
I'll look it up.
I think they're having their board meeting. It sounded like a meeting was starting at
Just, Lori?
6:30. They
Yes, sir.
always-
Uh,
They always.
When the school people were
go to the
here,
hearing at
they
7,
asked that
right
we
at
let them
7.
know when we
Well,
would be
yeah, a hearing would
deliberating so
have
they
to
could hear that.
have
So if there's
time.
some way we could get a message
Those are
to,
board meetings.
When he shoots out this email, I will automatically forward it to both Lorraine and to Marge.
Send these over to Lori.
And they will send them, obviously, to Zach.
Speaking of Lorraine and Marge.
Yes.
Or Lorraine, they still not, at least I didn't check today, but I did check last night. They still haven't posted the contracts or the budgets that they said they were gonna put up there. They've only posted stuff that's meaningless to me.
Yeah, because the answer, when I asked Kathleen Sargent, she sent some information, so I can that out.
I've got it written on my calendar to
I
hold.
think I do too. I
Should-
think it's
I should be
6.
up to
What I got was.
I know.
speed with technology and have it on my phone,
Forward
but I
that to
don't.
someone else who can help you.
I'm still doing a written calendar.
Has not
Okay.
yet been answered at this point.
But you ought to talk about that, Lori, because she said she would get us the contracts, all of
I
them,
will dial her up tomorrow
and the
morning.
budgets.
But we did get a copy of the Stark contract on the boiler.
Yes.
Boiler, yeah, that
Yep.
was, yeah, that's a hefty one, but the second one is the one that has kind of the meat and potatoes in it. The second, when I say the second one, there were split into two emails.
Two of them.
The second one has kind of a lot of more detail in it.
It depends what you think is important.
On the teachers' contracts,
okay.
you want to pay very strict attention to the ramifications on the retirement system. You need to study that.
What do you mean?
With the new laws that have come in, look at how much they're getting in this new contract towards the retirement system.
John Stock or where?
Where?
Lori, where?
I don't understand. How do you get
It
something
should be
towards the
both.
retirement system?
Right,
No, the
it's a set-
retirement
it's a set
system determines your
percentage.
deductions. That's the,
Right, but the way the contract is laid out, Lorraine and I were talking about that, and she said to study the ramifications of the steps and how it all lays out for them going forward. With the police and fire, what they earn allows X amount for the retirement system.
Yes?
With the schools, it's different. Theirs is figured differently.
there are 3 different rates.
Yes.
Teachers, municipal employees, and then there's a category of
Fire and police.
fire and police.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she's talking about. And you don't get to pick. You're in one category or another.
Right, but it's a driver that's, again, in that budget, in those contracts, and when we're voting on contracts, we need to know, because remember, they've made choices with this. They're getting, for not putting in a contract last year, they're getting 2 increases.
Right.
And you have to read these contracts closely, because the last contract that came through, where there was supposed to be a decrease in they were supposed to pay more towards their health insurance, and inside that contract, they got money to pay for that, so they didn't feel that increase personally. And that we did not catch in the contract. So we have to very closely read these contracts. We have to become much more vigilant, because that's part of our job.
So when you say pay attention to the retirement, is that possibly that the amount that is deducted, which it's like Social Security, it's going to come out. But you're saying that there may be somewhere in there that reimburses for
Yeah.
that? But then you would be assessed retirement money on the reimbursement, so.
Right, but we have.
That's a circle.
Again, but we saw with the health insurance, so it is our job to look at those contracts closely, because those are things that they do not tell you.
But, I understand what you're saying, and looking at them and understanding them is important for everybody.
Right.
But our main job is the bottom line cost of the contract, because the negotiations takes place between the union and the elected officials. I mean, we can't go in and say, we don't agree because of this line in the contract. We can say, we don't agree because we don't think the bottom line is affordable. But,
Actually,
I
we
think we're-
have,
No, I think Tom's right, but remember, it's not just the bottom line for this year.
Right.
If they set up a contract which imposes significant costs in year 5, 10, and 20, that's also relevant.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
so all I'm saying is we all have to do our homework for that. And that's important, and if anybody has a question or, gets stumped, don't hesitate to ask.
And Keith will continue to keep calling to make sure we get copies of those contracts.
Chair.
I keep checking the website.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep an eye on the website, because I don't go webbing. I'm not good
So,
that way.
Madam Chairman, you're not scheduling anything beyond the 16th, is that correct?
No, I think we need to take that first meeting, see where
It's a
we
week from-
land,
week from
how we're
Wednesday.
adapting, and
Right
that will
here,
give us a good clue
6:30.
as to how much
Look at
more we've
school
got to
stuff.
do. If we get one out of the way and we start feeling that the Weare Elementary is going to take more time, that's going to push the town back, but that means we know how much more work we're going to have to put in. As you know, we have had nights where we've gone 3 nights in 1 week and we've gone till midnight. So I just want people to be aware that these things are going to happen, and this is where we start getting creative. We have met on Saturdays, and the closer we get to things, the more interesting it gets. Anything else to go forward. I want to thank everybody tonight for all their help, their great questions, their interest in this committee, and if anybody comes up with anything, don't hesitate to let me know. We can have anybody come back to answer anything. And, you know, if we feel that we would like to see something different, we can have that conversation. Okay? Motion
Move
to
to
adjourn?
Gotcha.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Somebody please turn the cameras off.